welcome to Sci-Fi Vision for May 13th. Today we're going to be talking about Doctor Who and Surreal Estate and Andor. And as soon as I can find where the overlay is, I am going to share my screen here. I need to fix some of these. This one says mofo. That one's probably the right one. Let's see. No, that's for display. I'll find it eventually as I'm talking.
Hi, Janie. How are you? Hi, AJ.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
My hair's still a little wet. Nice to see you guys.
There we go. Hair. It'll be fixed in 1 second.
Whoa. Hi.
It's nice to see you guys. Yeah, I just have to. There we go. There we go. Ah.
No, there we don't go.
No, I know. It's because we're on the wrong. Oh, that should be the right one.
Yay, Ark is
There's three of
here.
us.
I
That's
didn't know
why.
I summoned her, but cool.
So there we go. What'd you say? Artie's there.
Summoned her. You
Ark.
summoned.
Ark. I
Ark.
summoned-
Yeah.
Ark 54.
Yeah, Ark was here for my show yesterday, which I appreciate for our Dead City show. So when we get to that point, she'll hear a little bit of repeat since me and you are going to talk about it. But
Okay.
So thank you everybody
for luncher.
Yep. Yeah. Hi, Muncher. Thank you, everybody, for coming. If you haven't, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to Sci-Fi Vision and check out all our videos and all our live streams because we have them going on pretty much all week. Our Last of Us one is Thursdays at 8 because half the time we get people coming in saying, I thought you were doing Last of Us. So that's Thursday if you're here for that. But we have things going on all week, and let's see. Mondays is Dead City, Thursdays is Last of Us, and I'll put a Discord link in the comments. If you haven't joined, please join because you can get all our schedule and everything on there. All right, guys. Well, so
all right. There's your Discord.
Yes, Ark. I didn't yell at you. I just questioned where you've been.
I haven't been there.
She's busy.
We miss you guys when you're not here.
Yeah. All right. So I don't see a title card, but that is clearly Doctor Who we got up there on the screen. I mean, it's not Doctor Who himself. It is from
the episode of Doctor Who. Yeah. And I am.
This was called what? The Story and the Engine, I think was the name of this.
Yes. I'm getting up. I know I'm gonna not remember the names. I'm getting up my recap here. Hopefully I can. Here, give me 1 second. I'm trying to find my file. You guys talk for a second while I get my file out because it's going to take.
So what did you think, Karen?
Well, before we start, I thought it was a really good episode. There are a few things about the episode that there's always a couple things that maybe didn't work. Russell Davies is doing a lot. I'm not always down with my Doctor Who science fiction show veering into fantasy lately with all this bit about gods and the pantheon and everything. But I thought this, this wasn't really about the pantheon or any of those gods. It was about the gods in general, kind of. It kind of, worked for me the way this was done. I liked this episode a lot. Almost everything about this episode I liked. There were a few things I didn't. And I just want to say that this episode was written by, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, Inua Ellams, who is a famous playwright and poet, actually, who was born in Nigeria. This was the first Doctor Who that he has written. And I think I read an interview, the first thing he's written that is, he's really a stage guy and has not had anything get on screen yet, I think. So a new writer who I think did a great job. I really like this. How about you, AJ?
I agree. I like this episode a lot. The only thing I get, kind of like you, it didn't have to do with the Pantheon, but I'm very nervous about the direction that this season is going in. The last two seasons with the gods and everything.
Yeah,
and I feel like even though it wasn't that type of story, I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure I like where it's going. A couple more episodes and we will have answers.
Yeah,
but otherwise, but as a standalone episode, the story itself was great. I thought it was very interesting that they brought back around the fugitive doctor in the episode. I kind of had a feeling when they, when Addie was talking about, the doctor abandoning her and everything, I had a feeling that it was going to turn out to be the fugitive doctor. So, and if the doctor is remembering the life of the fugitive doctor, what else does the doctor remember now after the whole Jodie Whittaker run and learning all, rewriting her history? And
I'm about to start ranting, so I'm going to stop and hold that until we get to that. Until we get to that part.
Yeah, because I was going to comment. I'm assuming after what happened with the master, I think he has all the memories back now. But I also enjoyed this episode. The one problem I had with this episode, and I'm like really surprised you guys didn't mention it, unless I missed you mentioning it, is Belinda was hardly in it again. Like, what the hell?
I didn't mind that.
Well, I still missed her. Let me rephrase that. I didn't feel like she was missing in the sense that the story would have been necessarily better without her. I don't like that she wasn't in it because we complain every week we need to see more of her and the doctor together, and then she was barely in it. That being said, I liked everything else. It was a very, odd, quirky episode. It was different, which is why I really liked it. I wasn't sure kind of at first how to classify it, what to say. It was weird kind of in a good way. And I really enjoyed it. And like the whole, spider thing was weird. I mean, that was a lot of stuff going on. I don't know.
The World Wide Web.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I agree. We didn't need more God storylines. And as soon as they did that, I'm like, oh no, is this going to be another God? So at least they didn't go that direction. They went a different direction. But yeah, I liked it. And I also liked that they saw that they used the fugitive doctor.
Yeah. I mean, Jamie, I also didn't really mind. I wouldn't really say this was a totally companion light episode, right? But she was only in about half of it, maybe. I didn't mind it that much either. I think maybe because the barber shop in storytelling is such a male space, and the black barbershop and the barbershop in Africa are like really men's spaces. And so it didn't, I think she busted in at exactly the right moment in the story to come in there and then be a companion with be with the doctor and play her role in the story. But it didn't really, it might have bothered me if she wasn't in it at all, right? Like she wasn't last week, and I really complained a lot last week that I don't feel like they're developing the bullet. I mean, it's hard. There's only, how many episodes are there? Like 8, right?
8.
And we're supposed to believe that they're like best friends, formed mostly through off-screen adventures in between episodes that we don't get to see, right?
However, the episode did start with her saying, "You got to get me home."
Yes.
And then and that's how they end up in Lagos. Is the doctor's like, "Oh my God, why didn't I think of this before? Like, Nigeria has this huge power supply that'll be perfect for the Vindicator."
Yeah, which I assume he's referring to the Nollywood industry, right? I mean, Nigeria is.
That's a big thing that looks like an electric guitar to me that he keeps pulling out. Yeah.
I mean, Nigeria is the center of entertainment in Africa, right? Like where so much film and television production comes out of what they call Nollywood. And it's a huge industry. So that totally made sense to me, where he's like, oh, there's a huge communications array. This is the perfect place for us to go.
Yeah. And he also got to see his friend, I guess, which was good. He doesn't have a lot of friends. Now we got this screen on the window. What did you guys think of that? I thought that was pretty cool how they used it as a storytelling device in order to show the, what they're talking about. And obviously that's what they're seeing. But I think the fact that then whenever he starts telling the stories, it's like video. Like that just makes perfect sense because his are so much bigger, his stories, So I thought that was pretty cool.
I liked that also.
Oh.
I did too. And I think it's because the doctor is so powerful himself. I think that's why. I mean, when the doctor told his story, the engine went quicker, he was like, the doctor was like a superconductor.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I thought was really cool too was how the episode started, with the character telling the story about the doctor and everything, and then we see the intro on the screen, and it kind of morphs, into
Yeah,
the
that
intro.
was cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool the way they did that.
Yeah, that was cool.
I-
Yeah, we have. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I enjoyed all that and thought it was really good. Particularly, one thing that disappointed me was some of the visuals. Doctor Who has done location work before, and while I don't think they had to go to Lagos to film this episode, they could have gone somewhere besides the soundstage to shoot. And I felt like some of the scenes outside, I enjoyed that scene with the doctor going through the market, and yet I felt like
the empty alley looked like a soundstage.
Yeah, the empty alley looked like a high school play that you couldn't even afford like 2 pieces of wood to build a set, right? Like I really was disappointed that with all the money they're putting to special effects and with all the money they spent going on location in the Jodie Whittaker season, that they couldn't do something outside of that sounds. You can still do it in the UK. You could do it someplace do you have to go to Africa? Maybe. Jodie Whittaker shot in South Africa. They went to South Africa during the Jodie Whittaker season, right? I'm not saying you have to go to a marketplace in Lagos, but I thought it looked kind of cheap and not that well done. And yet then they had this fantastic hand, and this nice colored animation, and that whole visual thing really worked for me.
Yeah. What I was going to say because he was talking about the storyteller. That's this guy, Omo. And then we also have Rashid Tunde and Obioma, the guy on the right. Yeah, okay. And they're the other ones that are kind of stuck there because they were, I guess, because they really liked the barber shop. They kind of refused to leave, so they got pulled along with it. But the idea of it, of course, I like that too, the doctor. The idea of it, of course, is that they have to feed this thing that's transporting them, which you find out is a humongous spider engine. They have to feed it stories to make it move, and like the light will go from red to green. And they want the doctor to come because they think he can tell better stories. Now, I was going to ask you guys though. Okay, so Omo wants the doctor to come because he knows that he can help. But his idea with the doctor coming is, he can tell big stories, so he can come and I can save everybody else and like leave him there. I understand that maybe he didn't think that through, but I kind of was not so sure how I felt at the end of the episode that the doctor, after he was so upset about it, which he should have been, he just kind of brushes it off. And like, I get that the doctor would forgive him, but it was like it was a big deal. And then suddenly it wasn't. How did you feel about that? The fact that he threw him under the bus, basically.
I thought it was the doctor playing a part at the time. Because really? I thought that too. But like, if you look back at it, it's like it was part of the whole doctor's plan. Because, whatever him and Belinda, whatever the doctor was cooking up, he had to make his anger and everything look real, because the doctor really doesn't get angry like that to where he's like, don't even touch me, get away from me, like that. I can't remember the last time we saw the doctor act like that, at least especially against somebody that's supposed to be a friend. Doctor's very forgiving.
I don't know. I thought he was hurt. I really did.
I'm sure he was hurt a little bit, but I felt that the doctor went over the top as a presentation to kind of keep the barber not paying attention to what he was really doing.
I don't know if you met him yet at that point. I'm not sure.
So
but what did you think, Karen?
I kind of I didn't see it that way. I kind of agreed that I thought the doctor felt really hurt that he's like, we're friends and you like are betraying me. Like your plan was to basically swap places and leave the doctor there trapped. Right. Yeah. And I hear what AJ's saying about the doctor, like not, I guess I don't, but AJ, I don't know when I've seen the doctor like really betrayed by a friend. Like the doctor gets betrayed all the time, sure, but by people who are not like real, like the doctor's friends are pretty loyal. And this guy knows everything about the doctor. This guy's clearly like he knows everything about the doctor's told him everything about him, right?
Yeah. And I definitely think he'd forgive him. I think it was just too quick of a flip. Because you think of like what Clara did when she threw all the keys in the, or thought she threw all the keys in the lava. And she's like, I betrayed you. And he's like, why would you think that'd make a difference? That was different. And he forgave her, but it wasn't like he just acted like it didn't bother him either. I mean, he was still hurt. He still helped her. And I believe he would help them no matter what.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't just get over it that quick. We have a couple comments here from Ark where we missed a couple. I'm just going to pull them up here. So
I saw them go by.
she thinks the whole storyline was a bit predictable. Did seem like to see the future Doctor, but wanted more storyline. We're like, I guess it means would have liked to have seen more of the fugitive Doctor. I wouldn't mind seeing more of the fugitive Doctor. I don't know if we necessarily need it, but I wouldn't.
I can't stand the fugitive Doctor. I mean, I like the actress and the characterization, and I liked that original story she was in about the Jadoon, but the fugitive Doctor is a problem for me because it's part of the whole Chibnall timeless child nonsense that and the idea is supposed to be that she's from a whole separate regeneration that 15's not even part of, right? So how does he have, like, the fact that he had her memories and was like apologizing for this I don't know, to me, like
yeah, his timeline, that is the future. He shouldn't have remembered it then. That's a good point. But I think with that whole thing with the master made him remember.
She's from like before the first Doctor, right?
Oh, that's right. She's from the past, not the future. You said future. I was listening to what you said. You said
she typoed.
I think it says future, but it's supposed to say fugitive. But I just have problems with the existence of the fugitive Doctor. I don't really dislike her as a presence on my screen. I just have problems with that whole storyline. That's all.
I think that was kind of acknowledging it, maybe. Like, I don't know that we're going to get a lot more.
Ark has a good point, though. We didn't even know about the War Doctor either until we had the War Doctor.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah, but the War Doctor is not part of. I mean, the War Doctor is like
wasn't a secret.
Was like
the War Doctor. The War Doctor is part of the current cycle of regenerations since. Yeah, the War Doctor took place after. The War Doctor is technically the 9th Doctor.
Well, to be fair, now we know he doesn't have a limit on regeneration, so it really doesn't matter.
Because of Chibnall's rewrite.
So there, I know. So I'm saying, like, it really doesn't matter, like, because you're saying she's from like a different set of generations. Not really, because we found out that isn't even accurate. That they only have so many.
I mean,
that was like a limitation the Time Lords put on them.
I did see a couple of people online, some discussion, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but Russell T Davies has said that he will not retcon the Timeless Child and everything Chibnall did. He's not going to try to undo that. But by inserting her into this story and like giving 15 her memories, and like, is that a little bit of like
too much?
No, is it a little bit of trying to like not retcon, like draw integrate it into canon, or this part of the canon a little more than I don't know. I gotta, the whole time I am one of the Timeless Child naysayers. So so when I saw her, I was like, really, it could have been any Doctor that she was like engaged to.
Yeah, and really, they could have just used one of the actors that's still around. Like, they could have brought Tennant in, or they could have brought Matt Smith in, or but maybe they couldn't get them to do it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even have to do a cameo. He could have.
No, he didn't. I'm just saying if they wanted to. Yeah, she could. Well, they could have used like a flashback clip or something.
They didn't even have to do that the cameo the way they did it. I mean, it could have just been on Shooty the whole time, and it wouldn't have mattered that it was.
But I think most people were probably happy to see her, and she is likable. I don't dislike that Doctor as a character. I just dislike.
I'm not a huge fan of what Chibnall did with the whole rewrite with the Timeless Child and everything, but I did enjoy her as the Doctor. As in the given storyline, I did enjoy her as the Doctor.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to see. We have them coming. So the idea is she tells him to go because he explains, how this place is like home to him and how they accept him there. I did like that they had that bit there. I mean, I think they've done pretty good with the, the whole race thing and integrating it into the story this season. Like, I get it. I like that scene between him and her saying, that's really human that he feels like that. I like that.
Yeah, I like that he acknowledged, like, oh, now that I'm Black, like, there are a lot of places where I'm not welcome. Like, a white man, when he was always a white man or a white woman, he's like, there are places that I can't really go comfortably on Earth anymore. And, like, this is a place where I always feel at home. It was nice to, and nice, like, we've seen episodes where, like they send the doctor to, like, that Lux, the episode Lux, which was set in like the 50s, I guess, right? In like a Jim Crow era American South. So it was nice to have a more
updated.
And a more like joyful depiction of him being Black going around in the earth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I do though like how he's like, I change a lot, or my body changes a lot, or something like that. Kind of hinting at it.
Yeah.
Yes, they did touch about that on the Cinema episode. That's what Karen was just saying. I'm guessing that comment came through probably before.
Yeah.
But they tell them to go out. Now, I think this scene was filmed okay.
Yeah.
It was just that empty alley that was.
The market looked great. Like Karen said, it was the alley that was like.
At that point they filmed there. I wasn't sure, and then after that, it didn't seem like it. But he sees all these signs, turn back, all these dangerous signs. And of course, the doctor is going to completely ignore that. We know that.
Well, duh. That's like,
and all these
doctor, that's like, please enter.
Yeah, I know. The thing that was kind of weird to me, though, I don't know if it's just the way they worded it, but clearly Omo's picture's on there, too. And he says to those three guys, you're all on the missing poster, like, sort of seems to leave out the fact that so is Omo. But, they're all missing. But here's the empty street. How they have that. Is that supposed to be, it's hard to tell, but I think that might be supposed to be a painting of the TARDIS there on the wall, too. It's hard to tell because the buildings are blue.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. But either way, it was cool. So he goes in, and then she gets the cloister bells, of course, and has no clue what's going on. She probably had a headache after that. Because something's up. And I guess it's like every time it disconnects from our, like, dimension, I guess.
Yeah.
Because whenever Abby opens and shuts the door, it does it again. So it's got to be something to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
But so when he comes in, this is the barber guy who's now taken over the place. And now this is where I thought it got a little weird, is the fact that these people, while they're telling the stories, they get a haircut, obviously. And like their hair grows back like almost immediately. And I guess hurts, it sounded like, from what they were saying. That's the part that I found a little funny and odd, is the fact that like they keep regrowing hair indefinitely. It worked because it made sense with the storyline, but it was a little silly.
Well, yeah. I mean, how are you supposed to cut hair if they don't have any?
Right.
Yeah.
It was just the way they did it was a little silly, but I liked it. It made sense in the scheme of it.
I just want to say, I thought this guy was great. I just had to remind myself of his name. His name is Arion Bakare. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Mr. Bakare out there. But I thought he did great work in this role as the barber. And I'm not really sure I'm trying to look up what else he's been in while I'm
trying to figure out where my pictures went. I'm missing the end of my pictures.
He was in his Dark Materials, but I don't really know who he played in that. But I thought he did great work as the acting was really, over the years of Doctor Who, the acting has not been of a uniform quality, but I thought it was all good in this episode.
Yeah. I don't know why, because I'm trying to figure out what the heck happened to my pictures, because I took a picture of the spider too, but for some reason it's not showing up.
Oh, that's all right.
I might have to share a different folder here.
I thought that the barbershop being carried on the back of a spider, I mean, I knew we were going to see a spider, but I knew we were going to Anansi the spider, right? The most famous, okay, not the most famous, but the African folktale that the most white people know, right? I mean, Anansi the spider is a very well-known folktale, and I knew we were going there. But I thought that it being carried on the back of a spider, it reminded me of that episode where the spaceship was being carried on the back of a whale. It's like a space was powering it. Remember that episode? That was the 10th Doctor, maybe?
Yeah.
Or the 11th Doctor?
I think it was the 11th Doctor.
Yeah. It reminded me of that a little bit.
Bizarre.
That's okay, Jamie. Just go with what you have.
No, I'm just trying to find out why the hell my whole hard drive vanished.
Yeah, that's whatever that is. That's not
That's not good. Anyway, no, that's not. That. I'm trying to. There it is. It wasn't showing up. I don't know what happened to it. So forget. I got the other folder. Just
Sammy's book.
Forget you guys can see everything I'm seeing.
We can see everything you're doing right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find it. Keep talking. I'll get it back. There we go. These are the right. I'll have to use these ones because I don't have, for whatever reason, the screen captures disappeared. So, but there we go. Anyway, we got Nancy, and I was going to say I did like the whole conversation though, him with the gods, and he's like, oh, I played a game with this one. I hung out with this one. We watched Avengers together. When he says they watched Endgame.
Oh, you mean when the doctor says you don't really know all those gods? I know those gods.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped ahead because of the picture.
Yeah, Jamie, you're a little
sorry. Yeah,
I had to make a leap there to you mean yeah, when you say he, you mean the doctor. When the doctor says that's sort of the
sorry, I did jump ahead. When I took the episode there, think about it. But yeah, so
I mean, so this is this is making me think of Ark's comment about Ark also thought that the production looked a little cheap in some places, right? Karen, I thought that too. It was a soundstage. It felt tacky. Money was spent on spiderweb graphics. I feel like they put a lot of money into this, right? Into the
didn't have any money left for the alley.
Yeah, and the spider web, and they maybe yeah, AJ, no money left for the alley. I mean, it looks cool. Again, we're seeing Disney money in these special effects.
Most
but not everywhere. Yeah. So parts of the story did begin to get away from me. It got very convoluted here, where the barber is telling his story of how he was sort of like a servant of the gods or a helper of the gods, and his job was to spread the myths. He was
the storyteller, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, his job was to collect stories and spread stories about them, like not necessarily to make up stories, but to increase their notoriety and therefore increase their power, right? By their stories being more known, I think is where that was all going, right?
Yeah. And
then he felt like not adequately rewarded for that work.
Yeah, it was all him that did it, and then he did it so good that they didn't need him anymore. That made me, when he started saying that, made me think of like all the conversations people are having with AI. Like, we made it work so well that we didn't need it. It doesn't need us anymore.
Yeah,
and he was kind of a little pissed. And the doctor's like, yeah, but you can't just get rid of it. This is part of the human race, and you're going to screw everybody if you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was a little shaky, that whole part of the story. So the barber somehow was going to destroy the gods by, I don't know, erasing their story. Like this whole part where he's going to kill the gods wasn't really well defined.
He can't get rid of their power, which was that people liked them, that people worshiped them. Like, if he got rid of that, then they had no power.
But how's he going to get rid of that?
Okay, he created this intricate worldwide web,
right?
Yeah, the gods.
It connected all the different stories of the gods and everything. Basically, he made it self-sufficient, where he didn't have to go around telling stories anymore. And because he did such a good job of creating a way for the stories of the gods to never die, that he wasn't needed anymore. They're like, oh, thank you for creating this. Now we can do it ourselves. We don't need you. Yeah. So by going to the center of basically what he wanted to do was go to the hub of the web and destroy it, which would completely wipe out what he had created to keep the stories of the gods alive. And then essentially over time, people would forget if nobody's telling the stories. I mean, we've seen this in many different. I mean, this is a very eccentric way of doing it, but it's kind of, I mean, think about Neil Gaiman's American Gods. It's there's the new gods versus the old gods, because people grow up and times change and people stop believing in things that they used to. Like the stories change over time. I mean, there's a reason that gods always had these altars built to them, because they wanted people to pray to them, which gave, prayers gave them their power. Especially you watch any modern day storytelling of anything from back then, the gods are very petty.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they are, even in like the ancient Greek myths, those gods were all very petty and like always fighting with each other, right? I also thought, I want to come back to that, AJ, because I think there was a lot. I mean, both of you guys, there's a lot going on in this episode about like the power of storytelling and who owns the story, who owns your story, and who tells your story, and does that make them own your story, and can you control your own story? Like, there was so much about the power of storytelling there. But one thing I thought was also a little weak for me was this idea that the gods would then somehow be killed, and that would be bad for humans, and it would destroy like the earth or humanity or something. And that was a little like a big assertion of the doctors that everybody just sort of takes on faith because the doctor said it. And it wasn't really clear to me like why that would be bad, except for the part where the doctor says, oh no, that would be bad.
The only thing I can think of is maybe it's kind of that idea, like they need something to believe in, and like through time, I mean, we may not believe in those kind of gods, but over time, humans have. They're that connected to that. That would be my guess, but you're right, they didn't really explain it.
I mean, especially coming on the heels of last week's episode, which was basically like, tell a bunch of lies on the internet and everybody will believe them, right? It was like a totally different type of storytelling last week.
Right. It definitely was. So we also
have... It's two sides of the same coin, actually, if you think about it. But the whole thing is, if people stop telling the stories and stop remembering the stories,
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you lose a loved one and everybody's like, they're not really gone as long as there's always somebody to remember them. I feel like actually, is it a movie or a TV show or something?
Pillow.
Where there was like one person left who remembered this one person, and that person was in peril, and if that person died, then that I think I can vaguely see it in my brain, but I have no idea what I'm talking about. They should have
explained it a little better. So he also says, and
who's he?
The doctor. Sorry, when I say he, I mean the doctor. I should say the doctor.
Well, say the doctor.
Okay. Now I'm meeting with Barbird. I said the doctor. When the barber tells his story of the different gods that he is, most of it is kind of irrelevant, other than the idea he's just using all these gods that he worked, like quote unquote worked with, not exactly worked with, but the ones that he wrote the stories for. And the one that he does stop on is this Nancy. Now, I don't know if that's how he was able to get this spider to like transport them or what. They didn't really explain that part, that it became their transport. But that's the part of the story that's important, because then you meet this woman, Abby, who we didn't talk about, who, as he's talking, as the doctor's like, oh, I played this game with Anansi, and he tried to get me to marry his daughter by losing her in a bet. And he tried to lose the bet. And the doctor tried to lose the bet, but didn't. So he basically, you find out later, and why she's so pissed at him through the episode, is that this woman was also a god, well, daughter of a god anyway. She's the daughter of Anansi, and that he tried to pawn her off on the doctor, basically. And the doctor didn't take her with him. So therefore, she was humiliated because of that and resented him. And that's why when she first sees Belinda, when she comes in, down here somewhere. Anyway, when Belinda comes in, that she says, oh, did he leave you? You're his companion that he just ditched. Somehow she knew all the stories about, well, I guess she knew because they were talking about the doctor. But she assumed that he did the same thing to her. And Belinda's like, no, I chose to stay back. I told him to go on without me, which I think that was kind of an interesting scene, because that shows, again, I think how independent Belinda is from the normal companions, that she didn't even care. Like, she's like, yeah, you go, I'll stay here, which I think was funny.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like he's had some independent companion. Like Amy Pond was also bossing the doctor around all the time.
They were all pretty independent. I mean, even all the way back to Rose.
Doesn't seem to enjoy going there as much.
Yeah.
I think the other part that we also skipped was the fact that the story he told was about Belinda, when she saved this woman's life. Not that had to be in order, but that was the story he told that like overpowered, gave the ship a bunch of power at once. When he told this story about how she knew more than the doctors did when they didn't know what they were doing, she told them what they should do.
Which could be foreshadowing. Because she
What do
might
you-
know more than our doctor too.
That's the second time this season
Yeah.
that there's been a pointed out
How
that's
smart
like
she is.
that where Belinda was more on top of things than a doctor in a scene, right? Like we've seen,
Mhm.
we've had that reference made before.
Oh yeah, in the first episode, the Robot Revolution.
Yeah, the reference made to her.
Or it could just be or RTD could just be given a shout out to nurses who never get the recognition they deserve.
Yep. Yeah.
It definitely could be.
I mean, it is interesting that the doctor has a million stories, exciting stories from millennia of travel universe, and he chooses this story about about someone else to tell, right?
Yeah.
Which is partly what made it so powerful, right? That he chose to tell someone else's story.
Yeah, I have another thing I want to mention. Wait, I'm trying to get to the right spot in the video to take the screen grab. I don't understand why half my pictures disappeared,
That's
but
okay. You don't
I'm
have to.
doing them as we're going. Well, because I want to illustrate a point and I needed the picture. So I did want to mention, even though now this is out of order. Wait, did it refresh? Hold on, I don't think it refreshed. Damn it, refresh.
It's all right. Just what's the point that?
Okay, here it is. Whenever he's telling the stories and showing the different stories on the screen, when the barber is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they snuck in when he said, when the doctor asked him how he told these stories, he talked about the different places, and one of the things he said was about the theater. And you can see the TARDIS. Whoops, I'm pointing on the TARDIS and the plaza from the beginning of the season. Then it also showed this. I believe, now I don't know because they didn't say, but I think that's the ship that took Belinda. Now,
could be.
It could be.
Why?
You know what's funny?
Is that important? I don't know, but it was in there.
You know what's funny? You know what I saw in my mind when I first saw that? I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for the Fantastic Four, but it reminded me of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. Now I'll look for it. So the doctor ends up like kind of really debunking the barber's story. Like first he laughs at him and says, I know all those guys. Like you're not like you're bullshitting. I know all those gods. I've hung out with them, which is sort of a new thing. Like the doctor just drops in there that he's like hung out with Loki and like with a bunch of different gods from a lot of different traditions, right? I forget all the gods that are name checked there in that sequence, but there are gods from all sorts of different traditions, and the doctor kind of knows them all, which was like kind of I was like, wait, what? Most science fiction shows and most shows in outer space, and including Doctor Who, when people worship a god, it is eventually revealed to be some sort of like higher being of alien, right? And not to like a lot of science fiction is like what you think of a god is maybe just a different kind of evolved being, right? Or a more powerful being, but they're never actually a god. And this seems to really be like Doctor Who hangs out with gods from different traditions, right? Like, does that seem like a big deal to anyone besides me? Because I don't like the Pantheon storyline.
Well, I mean, they definitely could turn out to be aliens, but I think they set up showing saying they're not per se.
I think it was I think it was just basically the doctor saying, "Yeah, I've hung out with them," just to, because that's what he needs to do to debunk. Not saying the doctor hasn't hung out with these people. Clearly, he has, because the whole Anansi storyline in Abby. So.
Yeah.
But Jamie's right. I mean, take it at face value. It is what it is, And it. I don't know. It felt kind of throwaway for me. I think it was just, it almost was like the doctor was bragging.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Humble brag.
Humble brag.
Humble brag. Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. So I was trying to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the scene. I'm trying to find it, but it's hard to go frame by frame. But
Okay.
the other thing that stood out, a couple things in this story I wanted to mention, and I don't know if you guys caught on. I did not realize who it was supposed to be until found out because of the credits, and I can't get the picture of the damn thing. But when she sees that little girl,
I was gonna bring that up after we finish the barber story.
Go ahead. We can go through the rest of the barber story. I just was trying to
Yeah.
find it.
I mean, the big thing of the rest of the barber story is that Abby, when she's telling her story, weaves the map to help the doctor escape in his hair. And I love it when the doctor, like, an episode like this, you wouldn't expect it, and then you get like a really rich piece of history thrown in there.
Yeah.
In a fun way I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah. I
agree. It was great to see that piece of history.
And then I love watching the doctor run around though and like touching his head, going, "Okay, hold on, this way."
Yeah, I mean, we're not funny, but
and then they did something else that I love. Once the doctor takes over and it's being controlled by the doctor now, I love anytime they like flash through and show like depictions of all the doctors through the times. I don't know. I always like that.
I always like that too.
Yeah, I really like that they did that. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of it, but I liked when they did.
That's right. And so by the end of it, Abby, like, I mean, she comes around, right? It's really, particularly in the doctor's and Belinda's influence, like Abby comes around in the end and is like, I can't let the barber do this. Which, there's this nice touch at the end where, we talked about the doctor being mad at his friend, Omo, and forgiving him by the end, but the doctor forgives the barber at the end, right? And like, oh, there it is. There's a picture of it. It was so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. That's where they're running through. I was going to
say, too bad the hair looks so much cooler than the set.
Yeah, I did want to. I do think it's interesting that he was collecting things from all different cultures, because I thought it was only going to be stuff from there. But if you look, there's like a Hemingway book. I don't know what else, but I assume it's from different cultures since there was a Hemingway book. But the center of his machine, I did finally get a picture of that. Looks like this huge brain that sort of opens up into this tree thing. That I think they spent a lot of money on.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing looks practical as opposed to digital. And it looks pretty damn cool. But it's got a heart and everything, and he basically overloads it. And I love the guy. Sorry.
No, I just said another tree of life.
Yeah, it did look like a tree of life. I love though where the way he overloaded it is he's like, I'll tell you a short. He talks about how he dared Hemingway to write the shortest story possible, which actually I looked up. I did not know that is true. Not true that the doctor told him to do that. Hemingway wrote maybe he did. I don't know. True that Hemingway wrote a 6-word story, but when the doctor gave the machine his story, I'm born. I'm born. I die. I'm born. Yeah. That. The reason it had so much power was because it's like cyclical, and it's perfect though, because it's him. That's what the doctor is. He dies and he comes back to life over and over and over again. So I really like that part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Overloads everything and they escape.
Yes.
Yay. And now the little girl.
Yeah, I did. No, that's the wrong one. Wait, here it is. That little girl, I did not recognize the little girl. I admit, like I said, I found this out after because it was in the.
I didn't recognize her either. My first thought was she's another Harbinger.
That's what I thought, but
then it didn't go anywhere. So
credits, going by the actress and the character's name, which I believe is Poppy. She's one of the space babies. Now.
What the hell is she doing there?
I don't know. The doctor did say stories were leaking out. So I don't know if it's just supposed to be his stories are literally leaking out. And it's nothing more than that. Or if there's something else to it or not. I don't know. There's so many things this season about things out of place or the reality seems different or, and then we talk about the name of the season finale. Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if they're all leading up to something we just don't know.
I'm not sure I'm in love with that. I mean,
No,
so
I'm not either.
I mean, I guess this idea of things being interwoven in the spider web as the metaphor for that, but like I didn't think Space Babies was the strongest episode.
Definitely not. And Belinda wasn't in it, which I guess is the point. So you know it wasn't one of Belinda's memories. But
I think the more we see of this season, the more we things start to look like something's going on with this reality. Like unless this little girl turns out to be another harbinger, and we just haven't gotten to it yet, then this reality is out of whack. Something's not right.
Yeah.
Which I really the only thing that really worries me about the whole reality thing is I hope it doesn't take away from everything we've experienced.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I don't want it to be
I'm sure it can be done. I mean, they did it on alternate realities on Fringe, which we hated the idea at first, and then we ended up loving them.
Yeah. So. But yeah, I don't want him to basically say the first 2 seasons didn't happen or something like that. That would be really annoying.
That's what I'm saying. But,
yeah.
No.
I mean, that's not good storytelling ever, right?
We already dislike the retcon from Chibnall. We don't need another retcon.
It really worked once, which was Bobby Ewing, and it really can't ever work again. Yeah, I know I keep harassing you guys to wrap this up. I did want to say to you guys that one reason I think I like this episode more than others, the doctor did not cry in this episode. He did not look terrified, and he didn't he not know what to do. I'm so sick of my doctor being like, I'm crying because I don't know what to do. And like this doctor,
he was angry.
He was very confident throughout. He was confident that he could solve this, that he was going to save everyone. And he never, once he looked kind of horrified, but he never cried and was like, we're all going to die because I don't know what to do. I like my confident doctor back.
Yeah, I also like, as much as I was a little annoyed he forgave Omo so quick, I did like that and I don't think that picture isn't going to show you anything, but I'll put it that at the end that the barber kind of agreed with him. And I don't want to say became, good or whatever you want to call that, but he agreed to do what the doctor said, and he got rid of what he was doing. He quit doing the bad stuff because it's really opposite of last episode, because last episode we had Conrad who completely was like, screw you. And this guy's like,
last week we had an unrepentant villain.
And this week the barber is like, I just wanted to be recognized. I don't have anything else. And whenever the doctor was like, yeah, but you can start over, he's like, okay. And he's kind of taking the advice. So I like that it was different in that sense.
Yeah.
Ark thinks the little girl is Abby in a different dimension or reality.
Could be.
All I do know is, because I did see about this, the actress that plays the little girl is the same actress that plays her in Space Babies, and it's the same character name. So I'm not saying it couldn't still be Abby, but I'm just saying it is supposed to be the same character from Space Babies, regardless of that. So speaking of Conrad, watch out, we're going to see him again. I would think that's a good possibility. And that's the other thing I skipped, Mrs. Flood. She was in the story he told about.
Oh, in the story.
Yeah, talk about her and then let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really got to get moving on here.
We've been at this almost an hour. But that's important. Mrs. Flood shows up in every episode, right? Mm-hmm. And here she is again. But she does not break the fourth wall, right?
Right. No, she doesn't this time.
No, she just says hi to Belinda.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that better be going somewhere.
Yeah, I hope so. I do think we're going to probably see Conrad again.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Surreal Estate. Now let's hope my pictures actually show up.
Oh my God, is that supposed to be a picture from Surreal Estate?
Yeah, it's dark. That was when in the beginning, the guy, he sees the soldier there. That's a little bit better picture. Hopefully they're all show up. So we'll move on to Surreal Estate now. But I was going to say Doctor Who. The next Doctor Who I was just going to say is the one that's about the interstellar music, like the Eurovision type thing for the universe.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Really good. So, all right. So Surreal Estate. So we have this ghost that is attached to his girlfriend's house.
Well, we don't know that until almost the end.
No, we don't know that. I'm just saying this guy is the one that's in. This soldier is in this guy's house.
Yeah.
And
it's called Battleground, this episode, and it's about a soldier that can't leave the war behind, right?
Right. And
Right.
so every time they come into the house, whether it's the people who own it or, you know, the ones investigating it, he's there and he's like, you know, dodging bombs and trying to save them and that kind of thing. And it's all going on. Hold on.
Yeah. You know, the beginning of the episode has a lot of this sort of, I mean, it's a pretty violent haunting in that there are like explosions going off and guns being shot. And Susan is like knocked down and like almost injured like a couple of times. The homeowners won't even come in the house after like the first scene. I don't think we ever see the homeowners again, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty vivid and visceral haunting that we don't see that much. And yet I thought the episode was really... I liked this episode a lot, Jamie. It's really a kinder, gentler Surreal Estate, this episode, which is what I like the most about it. Like this stuff at the beginning is not really what the episode was about.
Yeah, I agree. It was about the fact that he, you know, needed to reconnect with his girlfriend. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, like both this storyline and the Luke storyline was about like everything the show's been about for 3 seasons, about ghosts that need to move on. And the idea that not every ghost needs to move on and not every ghost is having time, and not every ghost is a hostile entity that Luke and Susan need to like kick out of the house and get rid of. Like it really was a I mean, I really have a lot of feelings about the overall like message of both the A and the B storyline.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of interesting because earlier in the season we have Death, who's coming to Luke to get people to move on. And I'm thinking, what if she was there? Like he's doing the opposite, which is kind of interesting. That's going on. Because you're right. She's trying to take care of this house with the soldier.
Susan.
And her and Augie actually are trying to get rid of it. And they're talking to what's his name? Tag. Yeah. About trying to find out why that soldier's there.
Yeah.
And then we also have this other part of Susan's storyline, which is with this guy.
Oh, that's Bob, her old boyfriend / boss.
Yes. Who wants to unite their 2 companies, which is, I think, really just because he sees their companies doing so well. But he's like, well, think about it. You know, this is a business from a business perspective. Because he does say things like, does she think she can't stay away from him or something like that? And clearly she does not like this guy anymore and doesn't care about him, but he's trying to kind of push himself in. And she's like, I'll tell Luke. And she doesn't in the end. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This to me was a little annoying and throwaway, this storyline. And it comes on the heels of last week with the, who's the short red-haired lady realtor? Like we're having like multiple stories about rival realtors. I think these distract and bother me because we have main characters that there's not enough. There's so many like people with the agency now that there's not. Lomax never appears in this episode. Augie's barely in the episode.
It's too big of an ensemble at times.
Like they're sticking. Like I'm not sure. Like what is the point of the other realtors showing up and why they're taking time away from characters I'd rather see?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not sure why they needed to put him in there, unless something is going to happen with him down the road. I don't know, but
I can't imagine that Susan would ever.
Yeah. Other than she doesn't want to work with him, he doesn't really seem to be important to the story. So then we also have Luke, who is on his way. I think he's on the way to talk to that. Remind me his name. The one. Tyler. I think he was supposed. No, he couldn't have been on the way to Tyler because he didn't know where the house was. He was going to see. He was going to see some house he hasn't been to before. That's right, because he got lost. But the point is he's on his way and he ends up at this little. I thought it was like a shack, but I guess it actually was like a little house. It was the way they showed it. And he loses his keys, his cell phone quits working, and it starts to rain. So he goes to, somewhere here have a picture of the guy. Here, give me a second. So he goes to try to get somebody to help him. And he finds this guy. And I know this guy has been from something else in Sci-Fi Channel that I can't remember what it is, but he's from another show. And he opens it and he really doesn't want to help Luke, but eventually he lets him in. And this is where you were talking about the other storyline about Luke realizes, you know, maybe he's not supposed to help everybody.
Well, Luke doesn't realize that. He's told, this guy's name is, I forget this guy's name. He tells him in no uncertain terms. He's like, Bob, the other ghosts came to me and they said, tell Luke that we don't all have to move on. Like, Luke doesn't come to a realization as much as he has to be trapped in the space in between and be told.
That's fair. That's fair. Because, right? While he's in there, the door disappears. And he's like, where's the door? And he's like, where you left it. I just like that guy. But he knows right away that him and his dog, I think his name was Rasmus, something like that.
Erasmus, yeah.
Yeah, that both of them are dead because the guy can make things change in the room. So he figures out pretty quickly there. But yeah, you're right. The guy's like, I don't want to leave. This was the best time of my life. Like he sort of, I guess, willed it into being, willed his dog back to life or got him to come with him. I don't know. And is staying in this little cabin where he's got all his books to read and everything else. And he's happy. And he's like, no, I don't want to move on. We don't all want to. So yeah, that was, I definitely agree with you. That was an important part of the story.
And that the idea that like for some people, the like heaven is just heaven, the afterlife, what happiness is just being in the place where you were happiest, right?
Yeah.
And this is the place where he was happiest with his dog that he loves, who like he explains he doesn't really like people and he just really liked his dog and likes to be alone. And I really, to me, this really, it's different for this show, right? The show has always treated the ghosts as adversaries that need to be driven out or, you know,
or fix their problem or something.
And I mean, this might have spoken to me. I had just been to the cemetery on Sunday on Mother's Day to visit my mother's grave. She'll be dead 2 years later this month. And so we had all been there to the cemetery. And then I watched this show that's about like what it means for a person to like move on and where they might be. And this was a very, it was like, this is a great, I forget the guy's name, Mike, Dave, whatever, but this is a great place that he's built for himself, right? Like it's a perfectly fine place for him to
he's
spend eternity.
He basically says he has books to last a couple lifetimes and he's got his best friend and he's happy there. And I think that's okay. And thankfully Luke agrees with him and leaves him alone. That's where I was saying like earlier we had, Death who was doing the opposite. And I just worry like she's going to show up trying to make him leave or something later.
But, I found Death was not a scary or adversarial character really either, right? She was like, Luke, there are people who got to move on and I need you to like step up your production here, right?
Yeah, because they needed help and she couldn't do it on her own.
Yeah.
But would she force this guy to leave? I don't know. Because we've seen her early in this.
He might not be on like her list of people that need to move on. Like,
hopefully not.
Like he kind of has moved on. He's moved on. He's not haunting anybody. He knows he's dead. And he knows he's dead and he's happy to be dead. Whereas in the A storyline, the soldier whose name I forget, he kind of didn't realize, he didn't know he was dead at first, right? Like Susan and Luke have to be like, look, the war is over and you're dead. He didn't even know. Those are the ghosts that need help, right?
Yeah, I agree. I was looking for a picture of the guy here. They also do question like why now is the other thing, like why he's now coming to haunt his family. Because it's not his house, it's the house his girlfriend lived at.
Well, they didn't know that until
but I'm saying in the end that Tag finds out that it's the house that his girlfriend used to live at.
But he has not haunted. He's been dead for 60 years and hasn't haunted that house. And so why did he just show up?
Right, which they find out that a lot of remains were brought back from Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So they think that that's why, because now he's back here and now he's like, restless and doesn't know where to go. Oops.
Which is kind of crazy. The idea that his ghost was his unidentified remains were in Vietnam for the last 50 years, and he like the idea that your ghost is tied to wherever your body is, and yet once his body comes back to the United States, his bones are not in that house, right? Like sometimes we see a ghost who died in the house, and then sometimes we see a ghost who is just drawn to the house. Maybe he was dug up. Maybe it's when he was dug up from whatever grave he was in was what disturbed him and made him. It's not really explained. I didn't really need it to be explained.
No, it didn't really need to be. But but yeah, they find out that his body was moved. There he is. He actually knocks out Augie because he thinks that he's, in the other side of the war, that he's and he does not trust him. And Luke has to come in and be like, hey, war's over.
Yeah.
Everything's done. You can move on. And I really like they have the whole scene with them outside playing catch. Because I feel like Luke, there were scenes with Luke playing catch with his father, wasn't there? Like in some of the original seasons.
Maybe it's
I know they played baseball. Like he was hitting baseballs, and I know they had bowling. I can't remember for some reason. I'm thinking
it's such the classic father-son, American father-son thing, right? Like having a catch, hitting a baseball.
And he tells that says that he did that with that girl's father too.
I thought this was really nice. Like it was nice how quickly Luke is able to, once the kid understands the war's over, Luke is able to turn this around. They're having this nice catch. He explains everything, and you learn like what he needs to move on is also a very sweet and nice thing, right? Like he also, much like the guy in the cabin, he's come to the place where he was happiest.
Yeah, exactly. And so while he's doing that, Susan goes and finds the woman that was his girlfriend, who's now grown up and, older. And although he sees her as she used to be, but she gets to say goodbye. He gets to say goodbye, and then he moves on. So it was nice. It was sweet. It had a good ending. But you're right. The same thing came back to where he was happiest.
Like so far this season, we had a ghost that was trying to force her brothers and sisters to kill each other, a ghost that was a man-eating plant. We had a ghost that was like, we've had a lot of like mean ghosts this season, right? And so this was nice to have two kind of really nice ghosts.
Yeah. And they got a good ending too, which is good. The other part that we have in here, and I don't know.
Are you going to talk about Augie? I do want to talk about.
Yeah, I did want to talk about Augie. I somewhere have a picture of him with his girlfriend, but at any rate, that Augie is talking to his girlfriend at work. I'm probably in a second going to give up finding a picture of him, but was talking to his girlfriend at work, and she makes a comment about his equipment. And I didn't realize they were still together. I thought that after he was fired, they split up, but I guess not. Which was
they're like in love, right? Supposedly.
Yeah. But I still figured after he stole from her that she might have broken up with him. But yeah, they're still together. But she makes a flippant comment about.
She says, "Oh, the little girls from the." She's like looking at his equipment. She said, "Did the little girls from The Shining finally reach adolescent, go through puberty, or something like that?" She says, right?
And he got upset. I thought she was just joking around. I didn't really find it mean. I didn't find it mean-spirited, but I don't know. What did you think?
I thought it was really mean. Your life partner is mocking your work that you really believe in. And he says to her, I didn't make flippant remarks about your killing machines. I would appreciate the same respect for my work.
Yeah.
It is like the harshest line that's ever been delivered on this show, I think. Yeah. Not our show, Surreal Estate. It was like, I was like, holy cow, Augie is not taking this shit anymore. I don't think he reacted. I think she obviously.
Yeah, I don't think he overreacted. I just didn't think she meant it that way. Like I thought she was just joking around with him. Like I didn't take it as an insult, but
I mean, it was mean-spirited. She might have thought she was joking, but you can there are jokes that are mean, like, or people that disguise a mean remark by pretending they're joking, right? But I mean, he shut her up right away, right? Like she, I I think this scene was undercut by the next scene in which he talks about like his uncle who had PTSD, right? His uncle who comes from, did the uncle come over from Vietnam and never was the same again, right?
Yeah, he tells her something about that. I'm trying to remember now that you said that it basically says that it fundamentally changed him. And so I guess he's saying all the things that he's been through have fundamentally changed him and that it's important to him, was how I kind of took that conversation.
I mean, I took it that this is why this particular ghost, who is still struggling with Vietnam, meant so much to him, because his father like really lost his brother to, you know, his brother's never the same, and that's why this one was personal for him. And then, you know, she's like, oh, Augie, and she hugs him, and they're all sort of, and I'm like, wow, she was just really mean to you and mocked your work. And you like, it was a little, I mean, look, this is not that serious a show, but I felt like they diffused that pretty quickly with this other scene.
Yeah. But they have such a big cast that they kind of don't have a lot of time for it. Speaking of Augie, did you notice that Augie showed up in Last of Us? Not Augie.
I haven't watched The Last of Us yet, so don't say anything.
Okay, I won't say anything else. That doesn't spoil anything. Just teasing it. Okay, so the other part that we have is and I think this is why they brought that annoying guy in to answer what we were saying before. I don't know that we'll ever see him again. It might have been all for this point, which is that she's pissed at him and she's like, no, I didn't tell Luke. I don't want to work with you again. Go away. And she gets mad and she starts a fire and catches her curtains on fire. And this guy,
Fireman shows up.
Which clearly she's going to go out on a date with him. She kind of agrees to go out on a date with him. He's going to call her or whatever. But that was just kind of a whole point of getting her, I think, a date. Because, you know, through the season, she's been trying to find somebody that works for her. And she's kind of sworn off men, though, for right now.
Yeah.
But he shows up and he seems to be this nice guy and she's attracted to him. So there's that. And she agrees to. Because
on every show, they have to have women date. I mean, Winona dated a fireman. And I watched another show what's that other show where the woman was dating the fireman and didn't want to tell the husband, not the husband, the ex-husband, who was. I've seen like I could probably, if I thought about it, name at least 5 shows where they introduce a fireman as a love interest. Yeah. I mean, look, who would want to date a fireman? They see a fire and they run into it. They don't run away from it. Like,
yeah, good point there. Good point. Excuse me. The other thing I wanted to not skip that I want to get to really quick is Tyler's girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Comes to talk to Luke, and although she tells Augie instead, and she's like saying, "Hey, Tyler isn't himself. Something's wrong. He's mean." And Augie knew something was up with Tyler. So I think this is just kind of solidifying it. What he's going to say to Luke, I don't know, because Luke wasn't there. But we get that little scene, which wasn't very long, but I think was important.
And the crazy, creepy last shot where Luke is like, takes out that creepy stuffed elephant and says, oh, somebody needs a hug. And then he hugs it. Like, what the hell? That was super weird.
Luke, it was. I just still kind of wish that when he had been in that bar, he had noticed what Tyler was doing. But I guess because he was drunk, he doesn't remember it. So he still doesn't know anything's up with Tyler. But yeah, he is acting a little bizarre. And I mean, I think it's leading up to at some point, Tyler's probably going to get into him and take him over.
I think Tyler, well, I mean, Tyler has already said he told that other woman that he told that other demon that he wants to take over Luke's body because Luke has power that he wants. Right.
And I'm guessing that's probably going to happen eventually.
I think he already has the whammy on Luke. And that's why Luke is so like enamored of this guy, wants to do business with him at his beck and call. Either that guy's got the whammy on Luke or this little elephant is the whammy on Luke.
I'm not sure if there's anything if the elephant is actually anything other than to make him maybe remember. Because I think he wanted Luke to remember what they did to him. But I think Luke was just a kid.
I think he was trapped inside the elephant and he got out into Tyler's body. When Tyler found the elephant, he got out of the elephant into Tyler's body, right?
Which I don't think that's the same elephant, though, because that elephant was like in muddy water for years.
I think Luke's father put him in the elephant, and that's why
I think so too. Yeah. I question why he would blame Luke, though, because Luke was a little kid and has no clue what's going on.
Because he's a demon.
True. Okay, that's true.
He's just a mean demon.
Yeah. There's also though this scene which gives me hope, which is where Susan is saying to him, you shouldn't be working with Tyler. We're supposed to be helping people, not, making big developments or whatever. And you're not that guy, are you? Because she's questioning, because that other guy, Bob, that talked to her, kind of insinuated that maybe Luke was doing things just because he was trying to get under her skin. And she's like, no, you're not that guy. I know you're not that guy. And she kind of got him to say, no, I'm not that guy. So she's like, okay, good.
I thought almost like Luke didn't know what she was talking about.
No, Luke didn't know what she was talking about.
And that made me think that when he's with Tyler, he's glamored.
That's possible.
Right. And and he says things and then he's like, doesn't even know what she's talking about here. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be possible. Yeah. But at any rate, she knows he's not like that. So I think if he does, I do believe that if Tyler does go into Luke's body, that his friends will know it's not him, hopefully pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That's my hope. So yeah,
they got a lot in here considering it was night. Oh my God, here's that guy that's always in our chat. I they got a lot in there considering that it was a pretty well developed storyline about like moving on or not moving on or what moving on means. Like that all was pretty well developed, and then they had time to like stick in these like other character development-y things along the way.
Yeah.
It's not always as well developed.
Yeah. I think it was good. I liked it. It was a good episode.
Yep. All right.
Alrighty.
Next up.
Andor
or Dead City?
Oh, Dead City. We forgot Dead City. You're right.
I'm just going to go off camera for a second while I get some more ice for my soda here.
Okay.
And because I'm going to walk around and then I'll be with you and then I'll be right back. I'm carrying you guys into my kitchen.
Okay.
So Dead City. Oh, yeah. Jamie. Dead City.
I know. It was better than the first one. I thought.
So, I mean, I hate everyone on the show except for the two people who can't be killed, or maybe one. Like Maggie can't be killed, right? The plot armor is so thick on The Walking Dead. Maggie and probably Herschel can't be killed.
And Negan. They're not going to kill me.
I could be okay with a Negan death scenario done correctly.
I could be okay with it. I just don't see it happening. I think he's,
I think the 10-year-long effort to redeem the show's worst character ever, he can only really be truly redeemed if he gives his life for Maggie or Herschel. Really for Herschel, right? It's the only way Negan could ever truly be redeemed. And even then, he still killed Glenn. They're just all those ridiculous New Babylon people. Like, okay, the Croat and Dama are terrible, and I'm like, yes, please kill these freaking Civil War idiots. Like, I mean, these people are just. How did they live this long, Jamie?
I don't know. I mean, he's telling them like at least Armstrong somewhat listens to her, but Maggie's telling them you can't go on the freaking ferry. He's gonna know you're there. He's going to kill you. Don't do it. And, she's forced into going.
Because she knows, they forced her to go because she knows all about New York, and then they refuse to ever listen to her. Ever.
I know. Like, why did you bring her in the first place?
Yeah.
Yes, you're 100% right. And she's saying, they know you're coming, so don't do that. And I guess at least Pearlie Armstrong does have one good thing, I think, smart thing that he says, which that Negan, wait till they find out what you're hiding. Yeah, I know. But I do think that Armstrong had one good idea in the sense that he's like, okay, well, they know that we're coming, so they're going to expect us to come tomorrow. Let's at least go right now because we at least have the element of surprise, which didn't work out as planned, granted. That was what he thought.
Well, I felt like he was just trying to salvage it. I don't understand. He's the colonel, and he lets this major boss him around all the time, right?
That's a little confusing that they both listen to her when she is not in charge of them. I mean, there's supposed to be this military structure, but none of them follow rules. So
Maggie said that. Yeah. Why did you bring me? Why did?
Sorry. Why did you bring me if you're not going to listen? Yeah. They're totally not listening. She's the only one that has any sense, but I think we knew that.
I don't yeah, she's the only one who's ever been to New York and met the Croat and they've never met Negan, any of them, or the Croat or the Dama, or been to New York or been outside of a Civil War museum. And they I mean, obviously that little dorky historian guy on the right, I mean, he is like, I mean, I can't believe you would bring him. Like, he's there just to be like a note taker. I think he has no fighting ability, and he's all like, "Oh, New York," like.
Yeah, it was kind of stupid. He's not a soldier. I don't understand his point for being there either. I agree with you.
No, and he's a little bit like, "Oh, New York," kind of like when Indiana Jones went back in time in the Dial of Destiny and met like our communities or whoever. This guy is oh my God, this guy's the worst. Terrible character. Why you'd bring him? These people, like, I mean, they almost all got blown up in this episode, which is kind of awesome, right? Because they're pointless jerks who also are very like. So they're very authoritarian. They're like when Pearlie's like, we should listen to her. She's been to New York, and they're like, but the law is desertion. You get hanged. Like, they can't wait to hang everyone all the time with no trial. There's no like they're just like,
that's so dumb to me. And again, like, they brought her, just like Ark said, why did they bring her if they weren't going to listen to her? She accuses Maggie of deserting them simply because Herschel was there. Like, she's gonna help her kid. She didn't say she was leaving. She's just trying to get good out of there.
She did go off on her own. She went up.
She went off to look. She didn't go off to leave. I guess in their eyes,
in the military, you're not supposed to go off, I guess, ever and not tell someone. But she's not in the military. They conscripted her. Like, you conscript people off the street, and then you get mad at them for not being disciplined soldiers. It just, these people. I mean, actually, part of this, like, Maggie has been the leader at the hilltop. She's a natural leader. I mean, the idea that Maggie is not, if she doesn't want to be the leader of the bricks where she lives, that she's not at least on the council, or at least not known and respected in the area for like having been a leader at Hilltop, like everything she's been through. And now in this show, she's just like basically a nobody off the street.
Yeah.
Nobody believes. Anyway, I was so glad that most of them got killed. The reporter reminded me, oh my God, Jamie,
Sorry, the reporter reminded me of the governor's recorder on how fast you turn. I'm trying to, on how fast, she must mean we turn to pictures maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yes, and how quickly how many minutes it takes you to turn after you're bitten, I think, is what.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was,
he's the worst. He needs to be killed. I can't believe he lived. Well, he got kidnapped, right?
Yeah, it's annoying. But the other big point of this is when she sees the smoke signal. Whoops. Now, the one thing I did not get, and I have to give credit to Lori because I did not pick up on it, and I don't think I actually have a picture of it. But whenever Maggie like looks down and sees the cloth on the tire.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, whenever Herschel is like helping that woman and tying her leg later on, that's the same cloth. And like, that's how she knew he sent off the signal. I didn't pick up on that. I mean, like, I knew he sent the signal, but I didn't know that that's how she realized at that point, I guess.
That signal's on their side of the river. Someone has come across the river and burned tires.
Right. Which is Herschel, obviously. But I mean, like, I didn't realize she knew that at that point. Later on in the episode, it isn't now. But
I think I wasn't paying enough attention at that point.
Well, no, after they survive the boat, whenever they're all hurt and they're coming off, like he's like bandaging a woman's leg right before Ginny shows her gun and before he hugs her. Like it's the same cloth. So it's implying that he's the one that sent the signal.
Wow, that's a good catch because I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I didn't either. But Maggie knows it, and she finally, I guess, would understand why he's saying it's his fault. But I mean, whenever he did this, and we also had this conversation last night, is that whenever he did this, he's like, okay, they know you're here, so let's go. Like, he was trying to also use it as a way to get Maggie out of there. But I questioned, did he not care about all the other people that got killed just so his mother didn't? Because he didn't. Yeah, I don't know if he would have cared if they got killed or not, because clearly this is what causes the whole.
Well, he doesn't, because clearly he's working with the Croat and the Dama. I mean, he wants to undermine New Babylon. I think he's working with them, and he doesn't care about them. He's actively working against them.
Yeah, I think he's been brainwashed. I said that before. I think that he's been brainwashed. So then in the other side of it, we have, of course, Negan, who is bombing them on the ferry.
Yeah, that was kind of great.
Bombing them on the ferry. I love that they're using walkers to shoot across, though. I think that was pretty cool. Yeah, I think Herschel is brainwashed and he has a secret reason to go back to New York. I agree. I think so.
So I kind of wonder about brainwashing, though. I mean, as I watch this episode, okay, brainwashing, yeah, we can call it that. The Dama, who I hate, she's another like very cartoonish. She's like Negan at the height of his cartoonishness. She's like that now, right? But she says things like, I don't want to. So that whole thing, we're going to get to the violence, but when she says things like, I'm not interested in the past, I only want to look forward. Like, I feel that echoes this tension that Herschel has, that his mother Maggie's never gotten past that moment when Glenn died, right? And she's like upset. And for Herschel, who never even knew his father, like he said to Maggie, I think when you look at me, all you see is him. And also like all these adults who want to return the world to a world that he doesn't remember, a past that he doesn't remember, and maybe wasn't so great, right? And so I just feel like the Dama says things that are similar to how he might be feeling. So yeah, that could be brainwashing, but I think he already felt that way independently of her saying, like, the past is done, let's look to the future.
Yeah. Although she did also cut off his toe, which I have to wonder how that came about, but I guess maybe we'll find out.
Because she's a psycho.
Yeah. But anyway, I did like how they were shooting walkers and cannons. I thought that was pretty cool, using them as weapons. And even the Croats, like, they want the methane and it's going to be their downfall.
Well, so they were inflating the walkers with methane so they would bomb, right?
So and they also set up the buoys to bomb too.
Mine the harbor, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is here, when he's blowing them up, he sees, and I don't know if this is the right picture or not. He sees them. Well, first Maggie and Herschel were put under here because she punched the annoying Navarro.
So
when she didn't listen to her. But they get out. We don't need to belabor that, but they get out, and whenever Negan sees that they're there, he stops the.
He sees they get in a life raft right here. He sees them trying to get in a life raft. Yes. I did think Herschel was very weird in that scene when they were tied up in the hold and acting like he was almost in a trance and not like responding to Maggie and being very weird.
I thought at first there was gas coming out of the pipe. I was confused. Yeah. I thought that, but I think that it's just because he's kind of, maybe feels guilty because he says I screwed up, so at least I think that's where it says it. So I'm assuming he's just blaming himself at this point. He's also very mean to Ginny when she goes to help him. He's like, that's my mother. That wasn't very nice. I think they're kind of both jealous of each other. But whenever, I'm trying to find a better picture, but whenever Negan sees them getting off the
so
boat,
look at that. Go back to that picture of Negan.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
Well, it is, and so Negan masterminded it. It was his idea, right, to mine the harbor and to make walkers into methane bombs. And he's got this big grin on his face. He really kind of enjoyed it, right? Like he was having a good time right up until he saw Herschel, right?
Kind of. I feel like a lot of it is this put on persona, though. We had this discussion last night. I think that Negan may have I'm talking originally like before his wife died. I think that he became this person in order to be a leader, and he started doing bad things. I think there's definitely a point where Negan started enjoying it and became who he was pretending to be. I feel like here he's pretending. I don't really think he's into it yet. I think I feel like it's all put on. I sure hope so. I'm hoping so, because otherwise I don't want to watch the show.
I mean, that probably is like the central tension of his character this season. Like the line between pretending to go back to his ways and actually going back to his old ways, right?
Yeah. Sorry, like, it's not my air conditioner remote.
Oh, did you turn off my camera?
No, I turned off mine. It just used.
Oh, you turned into me. You turned into mine.
I turned into you there. I'm a clone of you. Sorry.
Yeah, like this idea of like, is he going to be drawn back to his old ways, and is like pretending to go back going to make him go back, almost like a little bit of like an addiction, and will he be able to like resist?
Yeah, I agree. And when he sees him waits was his downfall. The Croat knew he was not in all in it at that point. I agree. I also just want to mention, whatever the heck the Dama is doing with Herschel, I do not think he knows about it. Because otherwise, he could have just been like, well, you don't want Herschel to die. He's helping you. And instead he says, oh, this random kid, I don't kill kids. So he
doesn't actually, he doesn't really say that. He says there was a kid who was innocent and didn't deserve to die. Yeah. I wondered why he didn't say, like, you know me, I don't like to, like, it's a known, we know about Negan that he likes children and doesn't want to kill children really ever.
I'm assuming she knows that, but they didn't really.
He doesn't really say, I don't kill kids. He says there was a kid who didn't deserve to die, or something like that. He says something about an innocent kid, but he doesn't really say, I don't kill kids. But
I kind of wonder, it's kind of ironic, because if he had told her it was Herschel, she may not have been so mad. That's what's funny.
I mean, there was a time when we first met Negan, like when he first met Rick and the gang, there was that scene where Negan says, God, this is so long ago. He says, people are a resource. Like, I don't want to kill people. People are a resource. He just wanted to, like, enslave them all and make them do his bidding. But
actually, they have to know, though, because isn't that why he fought with the Croat? Because he told him not to kill somebody and he killed him anyway? Wasn't that the whole...
The Croat was with the Saviors for a while, right?
Right. But I think there was something like they had a kid and he told him to leave him alone and he killed him or tortured him or something. And that was why he shot his ear off. I think originally. Yeah. It's been so long, I don't remember. It was something like that. I just really quick before we move on, I did want to bring up, I did like the conversation here where they're like, I mean, it's awful, but where they're having kind of this joke and the Croat's like, oh, you know, he invited our enemies to a feast and fed them walker meat. You know, he said that it added to the moat. We don't really know whether that would kill them or not. We never really got a for sure on that because of the whole thing, but that's why Gabriel got, you know, lost his vision and everything. Like, they could get infected and die. Did they all die? I don't know. But it was an interesting story and a callback.
That's a classic panel from the original Walking Dead comic book where Dale gets infected. Is it Bob? It's Bob who gets infected, and like the cannibals are going to eat whoever the cannibals are, they're going to eat him, and he's like, infected meat, infected meat. But when he's telling that story, Negan takes it over, and then he's like, you tell it, Negan. And Negan tells the rest of that story with quite a little bit of gusto, seeming to really enjoy that story and be reminiscing fondly. Now
that I agree with. Yeah. In that point, he did seem to enjoy it a little too much. Oh my God, what the hell is that crawling up my wall? Hold on a second.
All right, well, we'll keep talking. I'll just keep talking without you. Keep us moving along. This kind of really is... So this is, as Art pointed out, the Croat like catches on and is like, oh, like, what? Who were you trying to spare? And that's sort of like it for Negan in this episode, where he ends up being brought before the Dama by the end of the episode to answer for that. I think Jamie, when she kills whatever that is in her house.
No, I'm here. I'm waiting for them to get a sweeper. I mean, it's like, I think it's an ant, but I swear to God, it's like an inch long. It's humongous. I've never seen.
They come in the house this time of year. My dad has carpet rats in his house.
Okay, now you're on my. Sorry, she's talking.
But probably, Jamie, you probably got photos of like now Maggie and the few new Babylonites who are left are washed up. They wash up on the shore and they're in this like on this pier. It looks like maybe with like walkers all coming around, and the new Babyloners, the Babblers.
The Babblers, I like that. But they're like, too many walkers. Since when can they not kill that many walkers, right?
Well, yeah, they kind of want to fight, and Maggie says it's too many. But I think in this scene, they turn around and they're coming from a couple directions. And Maggie says there's too many. Plus, I noticed that the new Babblers were raising their weapons. And I immediately thought, oh, won't that just bring more? Everybody knows when you shoot a weapon, you don't fire at them unless you really have to, right? Because it just draws more. And so Maggie, basically, this is the moment where Maggie assumes control of this group probably for the rest of the season, right? She's like, there's too many, we got to go, follow me. And they all execute for her leadership.
Yeah, and they actually listen, which is a good thing. Sorry about that. I don't know. That it wasn't an ant. It was huge. Whatever it was gross. but I got Kiki, but I can still talk while I'm holding Kiki. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Then the only other big thing I think of this episode really is the fact that the Dama finds out that he hesitated and wants to know why, and he won't tell her. So she brings in his friend,
the violinist.
Now,
the violinist.
Yeah, and she stabs him with.
This was ludicrous. This was
not reporter, the historian's pen.
This was a part of the episode that I particularly hated a lot, because I mean, you knew as soon as that guy was going on and on about his violin lessons in the beginning, that you knew he'd be dead by the end of it. But yeah. I really objected to was the Dama's speech here, where she says she doesn't believe in the past, and Bach was. I mean, first of all, to say that Bach was not really doing anything special. I mean, it's Bach, right? To be he was just doing what other people were doing, and he wasn't that great. And the past, I mentioned the past. Meanwhile, she has all these collected works of art from all over New York City. Like earlier in the episode, she's like, "Oh, look, Bruegel sent me a painting." She's got and she's drinking I mean, she's just living surrounded by artwork. And then to say that she doesn't value Bach or classical music or whatever. I mean, it was just so stupid. I mean, ultimately she just ultimately she wanted to take from Negan his only friend and his only comfort that he had, right? And that's why she did it. But it was a stupid speech that just makes her character more stupid than she already is.
I would agree with that, yeah. I mean, Negan knew it was coming. Negan tried to stop her. If Negan had I almost feel like as soon as they knew he hesitated, and he knew that they knew, he should have told him right away this may not have happened, because she did it because he didn't tell. I mean, that was part of the problem. Yeah. I mean, she still might have done it. I don't know. But it was kind of creepy how she did it with that guy's pen and then shoves it back in his pocket. I don't think that should take the pen, but she shoves it back.
Just to make her more ridiculous.
And also that guy, the historian, thinks maybe he knows her is the other important thing.
Oh, yeah, he did say...
Sorry, I went too far.
He did say, do I know you somehow? And she's, have we met? Which is have we met? Yes, because the few people living are... I mean, maybe he seems too young to remember her from before, right?
Yeah, I think if he was alive before, he was definitely young. I would say, probably a kid. And then I was just showing that's the...
Oh, that's the rap.
The same rap, yeah. And I totally didn't pick up on that. So kudos to Lori for noticing that. I didn't. And then Ginny has the gun. That's the only, and I think that's pretty much the whole episode. That was the big.
There's a song there, right?
There's a what?
I'm joking. There's a song.
Ginny has a gun. Yeah.
A gun. Janie.
I remember when I was in high school. This my teacher. He was funny. He used to sing "Jamie's Got a Gun." You couldn't do that now. God, you couldn't do that now. But he used to sing that in class. It was funny. So he thinks she's a relative. We had that conversation.
She's a relative of the historian.
Could be.
I was going to say
maybe he thinks maybe she was his teacher.
I was going to say maybe she was his first grade teacher or something.
Yeah, definitely could be.
Or some sort. Yeah, because she can't have been a famous person, because then everybody would recognize her. Maggie didn't, right? Nobody knows who she was. So Ginny, do you think Ginny has brought that gun to kill Negan?
I do. Yeah. And I guess she stole it, but yeah, I think so, because I don't know why else she would have it.
Yeah.
And
why they would show it. Now it's Chekhov's gun, right? Now we saw this very special gun with the ornate handle, and so we will see that gun deployed before the end of the season.
Probably, I would assume so. But they're on their way now to get closer to Negan and the Croat. And pretty soon that the shit's going to hit the fan, because they're going to find out that Pearlie lied. Because they still think they did. So that's going to come up.
And there's only 6 episodes, and now we're 2 done. So got to find that out pretty soon. Yeah.
All righty. So
all right,
I think that's it for Dead City. Okay. But yeah, if you want to hear more, make sure on Monday 8:00 we have the watch party, and for this, and then at 9:00 Lori and I discuss it a little more in depth. Ours is more of a breakdown and less of a complaint about the show when we do it, but. Well, I know you can get a little annoyed by it.
I know that your co-host really loves this franchise, which is great. A lot of people do. I just feel like
she enjoys it a little bit more than I do. Although I do think this episode was a lot better than the first one. It wasn't fantastic, but it was a lot better than the first one.
I mean, we talked last week. Yeah, I think I mean, when the story is about Maggie and Herschel, those scenes are great, and there's like some real story to be told there about Herschel and being the son of Glenn and being a post-apocalypse child and Ginny too, right? And I guess there still is some interest from Negan, like being tempted to go, like having, okay, I'm not sure I believe this, but in theory, having worked really hard to change or having been changed by what he's been through and then to be backsliding, that's interesting also. But then they have to just put like ridiculous. Look, I also understand it's hard to do new things with walkers, and these shows aren't even about the zombies anymore. These shows are about different factions of people fighting each other. It's
yeah. I don't think I really need that many walkers, though. I think sometimes it would be better if they held off on them a little bit more. I mean, I get it. People want to see action. They want to see the effects. And look, Walking Dead like makes the best zombies. I mean, they're awesome. They always look great. They come up with new things. But sometimes I think they put it too much in the story, just like we said about the cage fight or about the fight, the betting. You know what I mean? Whether it's both walkers or not, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
All right. So.
All right.
Andor.
AJ and I are going to take it to Andor, and we're going to switch it
Karen,
go for
yes?
it.
You are a better person than I am.
Because you can't even tolerate The Walking Dead at all?
You watch this show that you said you were not going to watch because you hated it so much the first season. You know you're going to hate the second season, yet you watch it so that Jamie has somebody to talk to.
No, you hate Dead City? I thought you didn't hate Dead City as much. I know you didn't like Fear, but I didn't think you hated Dead City that much.
I mean, Fear went down the tubes. Dead City, I thought was better than The Ones Who Live. I don't think it needed a second season.
Oh, really? See, I like The Ones Who Live, I think, the most out of all of them.
I'm just so sick of, I was so sick of Michonne and Rick. I think we waited too long for that show. I think the years.
I guess that's fair. I liked Michonne and Rick, so I didn't mind seeing it. But I do agree we waited way too long.
I never bought Michonne and Rick together, but maybe that's because I'm a comic person.
We got a lot to talk about.
Andor. Oh my God, AJ.
Stuff happened. Stuff finally happened, Karen.
I'm gonna say it was great. It's definitely the best 3 episodes of the entire show, I think, right? And yeah, I thought it was really good.
I don't even know where to start.
Did you think it was good or just
yes,
not
yes,
bad?
yeah. Especially the last 2 episodes. The first one was okay, but the last 2, it was just like holy crap.
Oh yeah, I mean,
the Gorman episode was amazing.
Oh my God, the Gorman. So that happens in 7 and then really 8, right? Is where the Gorman massacre happens. I thought they did such a good job of like, I mean, first of all, everything comes together finally with all these characters, right? And finally, the thing that I've been waiting for, that you and I are both saying, like, this is about the rise of the rebellion. Like, when is this gonna? It finally all came together, and all the politics and what the Empire has been doing and the whole Gorman stuff. Oh my God, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because going through all this, we know what we get in Rogue One, but it seems like without the Gorman massacre, I wonder if there's something else as a catalyst to really push the agenda forward for the rebels.
Yeah.
Because the Gorman massacre, and it was like, okay, all bets are off. We've got to do this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, and at least Bale was important, because I swear to God, if he was that real quick cameo last week, I was gonna be pissed.
Oh yeah, he shows up again this week.
Yeah.
I mean so that part was really well done. Also, I mean, I guess we might get into it a little bit more in a minute, but the episode 9, I thought held together really well and kept the tension really high after the drama of the Battle of Gorman, which I don't really have good pictures of, but there's Cyril walking around Gorman. like the part with the Senate really, I thought, held together well as a follow-on to like this really horrible thing that the Empire has done on Gorman. And it could have really been a letdown, right? But it really, I watched these 3 back to back, and it really felt like 1 3-hour chunk.
Yeah, I watched one, the first one yesterday, and then 2 and 3, the second 2 today. And Ark says she doesn't think it's all come quite together yet. She thinks something much worse is coming together to make Andor how he is, which I kind of agree.
Yeah, I mean,
or maybe we haven't just seen, or maybe we just haven't seen the repercussions of Bix leaving him. I mean, it could be as simple as that.
Yeah, that he doesn't have. I mean, yeah. I mean, I definitely want to talk about.
Actually, so let me ask you, how do you feel about that whole thing where she takes him to the Force healer and he's like, "This is a bunch of mumbo jumbo," and it's funny because I'm watching this, I'm like, "How could it be mumbo?" And I always, it's like I forgot that the Force is not a thing anymore. This is 20 years later almost. The Jedi are long gone. Nobody really believes in the Force. It's
Oh yeah.
It's not widely believed anymore. So it took me a second to get into that. I was like, oh yeah, duh. But the Force healer is like, walks over to them. She's like, I feel something from you. She's like, you don't, do you want me to look at your shoulder? And she's like, you have a purpose and everything. So I mean, basically, what she's saying is, you have a destiny to fulfill.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she definitely saw. She had a feeling, like she didn't like see the future because that's not what the Force is. But she's like Force sensitive, and she. I mean, so I didn't really know that a Force healer was a thing, right? Like that you can heal people using the Force. I'm not sure that I've really seen that before.
They're finally. I mean, let's put it this way. Force healing is something that's been around in the Legends forever, like the expanded universe.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time we've seen it in Star Wars, though, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was that we saw it in the first. It might have been Acolyte.
Yeah. Yeah, because they were really like the Acolyte was for me the first time I really like thought about Force witches, and that there were these Force witches out there. I mean, I guess we saw them in, was it Ahsoka? We saw them in also, but
well, those were different witches.
These like witches out there. But the healer. So I have the quote, like when Cassian's like, "This Force nonsense, I'm out here," and Bix stays, and the healer says, "I sense the weight of things I can't see, pain, fear, need." And then she goes on to talk about like, there's a purpose to it. He's a messenger. There's someplace he needs to be. And that really affects, I mean, I don't know that Bix even tells Cass, but that's what causes Bix to leave him, right?
Yeah. I mean, we know where he's supposed to be, but
like she feels like she's holding him back. And of course he does come back and say, like, he's so affected by what happens on Gorman that he's like, "I'm done, I'm quitting. Let's just go find a little planet and live together," right? And she's like, "We can't do that. These people need you. You have to stay here." It's a little again, a little disappointing for me that Bix seems to be reduced to just being Cassian's housewife. And
I agree. I was kind of disappointed. Because I definitely felt it, in the second 2 episodes of these 3 that, I was like, Bix wasn't really around. And then, then we finally see Bix again, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to leave now so you can do what you have to do." And I was like, well, that was kind of anticlimactic.
When we had
I really feel like Bix's whole story was building and building and building. And then, I mean, maybe we can get resolution in the last 3 episodes, but I just kind of feel like they're dropping it.
Yeah, and
what was the point of her story at all?
Essentially, the last, really, I think of last week, episode 6 was she and Cass blow up the torture lab that's being built, and I felt like I expected that to be Cass getting her Bix getting her mojo back
Right.
a little bit, and was going to be, and then she appears to in this whole episode just be like keeping house for Cassian, right?
Yeah.
I understand that she is maybe a severely damaged person from this torture, but it was surprisingly disappointing that she just is sitting around waiting for him, and then he's like, I love you, and she's like, no, that's great, that means I have to leave.
Something else I felt too was I almost started to wonder if Bix is force sensitive, because she was talking about, her dreams and her visions and everything when she was talking to the force healer, and she was trying to convince Cassian that the force is real.
Yeah.
And she's like, I feel this way sometimes. And I was like, oh shit, I hadn't even thought about her being force sensitive,
Yeah.
And it just feels like her story's just been dropped. Like, it's turned out that her entire story was just to get, it was a catalyst to get Andor where he needed to be, which
I
don't agree with.
Has she? I mean, I feel like what gets Cass where he needs to be, maybe in the overall story, is the massacre at Gorman. Like, seeing this massacre play out, I think really, and he understands what's happened here and how it's all political theater, right? That the Gormans are not nothing that's happened. I mean, and I mean, that witnessing that massacre really is what. Now I just hallucinated that I saw a bug in my house, but it's not real.
You killed it. I didn't send it there.
I mean, I feel like carrying that with him is what is going to make him want to like go to the scare.
I mean, he was ready to quit, though. You know what I mean? He was like, "I'm done. It's over. I'm going to say, I'm going to go get your senator out, and then I'm done."
Well, and he really only went to Gorman because he went there to kill Dedra, right?
Yeah.
Like, Will is like, Dedra's there. We've been trying to get her. She's the mastermind of this whole thing. We've got to get her. And he goes there really because Will is determined to kill Dedra. Dedra destroyed Ferrex is really what. Like, Dedra was in charge at Ferrex, and she is responsible for Will's father being tortured and killed, right? And so that's really why he wants to go after Dedra, and that's what. Like, Cassian really goes on like a revenge mission murder with Wilmon.
You know what?
There.
I mean, we started to see it last season, but these 3 episodes really drove home the fact that while these people believe in the Empire, they don't. Like, even Dedra, a high-ranking official who's been given this, all this information about the secret, about what they're really up to and everything. Even she's been kept in the dark a little bit to the how rapidly they want this to move along. I mean, you can see in her face that she is not on board with what all is happening. She's very conflicted, yet she's not doing anything to stop it. Unlike Cyril, who didn't really do anything to stop it, but that was a hell of a scene when he confronted her. I mean, on one hand, it's like, dude, you shouldn't be grabbing her and choking her to get what you want out of her. But
yeah,
she was putting all those Gormans to their death, and Cyril was like, "This is," even Cyril was like, "This is not what I signed up for. Like, what the hell is really going on here?"
I thought Denise Goff and Kyle Soller were both so good in this episode.
Yes.
Really great. Here they are together, but it's just her hair. So I don't know about she's not on board. Like, she's on board. I think Dedra was on board on paper, but actually seeing hundreds of people being shot.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Is the moment she was like, holy shit, this is real, right? Like, and Cyril's transformation, we talked last week about how, like, ambition is probably what drew these two together, right? But Cyril is not really that smart or competent compared to Dedra, right?
You know what though? It's like he is, but it's just like he's never had the backing that he needed, you know? Like, think about season 1. He was right about a lot of stuff. And he had to go through a lot to get people to notice him. Like, he from day one was like, this Andor dude is dangerous. And nobody listened to him.
Yeah. Yeah. But I felt like, so he has been doing Dedra's bidding. Dedra is using him with his knowledge. Like, he knew that Dedra wanted him to leak information to the resistance. But he did not know that the end goal was to massacre all of them, right? To take over the planet and destroy the planet. He didn't know that was the goal. Although, is there a little bit of like, he didn't want to know? I don't know. Like, you work for the Empire, dude. But he didn't.
I mean different things to different people.
Like in the last block of episodes last week, Partagar, is that his name? Their boss. He says Cyril can never know, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, Cyril will definitely never know." Right? Like, they've been planning this for a while, but I felt like in the year that passed off screen, Cyril's job was to spend time like with the Gormans, and I think he has become sympathetic to them, right? Or seen them at least come to see them as real people, unlike the Empire, who sees them as just like an obstacle to getting their minerals out of the ground, right?
Well, that's the thing, because Cyril's been living with these people and interacting with these people and realizing they're not these, even he didn't understand the propaganda. What the point, he kept hearing the propaganda, but he didn't understand it because he's living in it,
Yeah.
So they kept that part away from him.
And the way the point was to like get the entire galaxy to like change their opinion of the Gore so they could be annihilate. Like, let's just talk about them for a year as though they're terrorists. And you know how like God, that first episode was so amazing this week, where the journalists are saying like, we're here at this protest, and it was not really, they're talking about it like it's a violent protest and a general strike, and it really was a very peaceful protest, right?
Yeah.
And like all these journalists are talking about them like Tony Gilroy has talked about how he's partially inspired by the propaganda campaign the Nazis used against Jewish people to demonize them so that people wouldn't object when they began deporting them and eventually killing them, right?
Right.
And how other, God, if you've read anything about like the Rwanda genocide, the Tutsi versus the Hutu, like so much of that was like radio propaganda, like demonizing the other side to eventually like incite people to hack each other to death with machetes. It was insane, and it was like all done by propaganda, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it was watching them put together that kill box though, and and poor Rylan, nobody would listen to Rylan. Rylan's like, it's a trap. Like, what do you do? Like, think about it. It was so obviously a trap. Even Andor, when he called Will, he's like, they're putting up a barricade. Like, don't go out there.
Yeah. He's like, he could see it happening, right? And like nobody is listening, or he sees it, and we could see it the way they set up these barricades and they're bringing them in, and they're and then, oh my God, they had a sniper. So they had a sniper to fire the first shot, and then so the stormtroopers could blame it on the Gore and just start like killing them.
Well, that was the funny thing that those troops that came in earlier in episode 7, and the guys, and they're like giving him, and he's like, these guys are like fresh off the boat, like they're green, like why are we even here? And they're like, you're the commander, and you're gonna do what I tell you to tell them, and you're gonna do it. And he's like, okay, yes sir. And then in this episode it comes together because you find out they put these idiots that had no idea what they were doing in the middle of this firefight so they could basically kill them to make it look like the Gore was doing it. They were just expendable. They were just expendable.
Yep, they were like there to be.
They were there to be killed.
Yeah, they were there to be sacrificed so that they could make it out to be a bigger battle than it was, and it's just a total massacre. And so, and Cyril is like, he's seeing it. He kind of wants to stop it, or I mean, he's in denial, kind of like almost to the end.
Well, it's funny because
right?
you see all these people dying around him. All these people getting shot. And Cyril's standing like in the middle of it, just like looking around, watching it all. And I'm like, how has he not gotten like friendly, hit with any crossfire yet? I'm like, how the? And Damon goes, he has plot armor.
Yeah.
And then, he finally, and I was so glad he finally sees Cassian, because the two of them have missed each other on 2 other occasions. Like literally, like earlier in this episode, they were like standing like a foot apart from each other and went in separate directions.
So I really thought when Cassian is trying to assassinate Dedra and she's up on the balcony and she's in the room, I thought maybe Cass was going to take a shot at Dedra and get Cyril, and that would move Dedra's story along somehow, right? Well, like at that moment, I thought, oh, Missy's going to get Cyril, and then Dedra's going to like lose her shit, maybe.
That would have been interesting.
And I thought the final confrontation,
Cyril ends up saving her.
Yeah,
he's about to shoot her.
Yeah, I thought they were bringing us to a confrontation maybe with Dedra, or, I mean, they don't really know each other, but she was after Cassian for a long time also, right? That's what brought the two of them together initially. I really thought she was, and then Dedra ends up being saved by Cyril. And all that, continuing to try to get a shot at her. I mean, that was great also, right? And like all this shit is erupting around Cass, but he's still focused on like, I gotta get her, I gotta get her.
That was a really good fight between him and Cyril. And I was, when Cyril finally got the drop on Cass, I was like, Will's gonna come save him, because Will's headed in that direction. And then you see Cyril get shot in the head.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there he is. And then you see it's Ryland that shot him. I was like, oh shit, mister, we can resolve this with peace. There's got to be a way to talk this out. And, which I don't disagree with him, but that was some talk about a reality slap for Ryland.
The time for peace had passed. I mean, this was a great fight, and you knew that Cassian can't be killed because he has to be in Rogue One, and yet there was a tension there that I didn't really know how this fight was going to end, right?
Yeah. I really wasn't expecting Cyril to die, though. I was expecting Will to save Andor, but I did not expect Cyril to die. Which leads me to another question, though.
I'm happy to hear you say that, AJ, because I got spoiled that Cyril was going to die.
Oh. Then we see Dedra later, and she's losing her shit. And it wasn't clear if she even knows Cyril is dead yet, and she's losing her shit over that, or if she's losing it over watching all those hundreds of thousands, maybe, people being massacred.
So she does go, this is a different shot, but she does go into this little padded room that's like off her office, right? And she's like about to cry, about to scream, losing her shit, the way she's tugging on her uniform, trying to like compose herself, right? Which, it was so interesting. She had earlier said to Cyril, she's like, I did this for us. We're going to be welcome home as heroes. We're going to be like, she is prepared to live with it. Of course, that's before the shooting starts, right? Cyril comes to her as it's beginning.
Yes.
And he comes to her and he's like, what's going on here? And she's like, we'll be welcome home as heroes. We'll have everything we want. We'll go back to Coruscant. And it's like, she is prepared to live with it, or can live with it, or thinks she can live with it. And he already knows he can't live with it, right? And that hasn't even happened yet. I said to you last week, I wondered like if they were really in love, or if this was a marriage of professional climbing.
I think there was definitely. Dedra's not very good in the romantic department. I mean, just last week we were talking about how she was like, we have an hour, turn off the lights.
Yeah. But she was definitely concerned about him.
Because when he left, she was like, go get him, drag him back if you have to. But by that point, it was too late.
Like he said there, I mean, I agree with you. I love that scene. And what is she really sad about? I like to think that she has some remorse over participating in this massacre, but we know that we will not see her as a rebel going forward. So
no, and that's the thing. Even the Imperials that are like, oh shit, what the hell are we really doing here, aren't going to switch sides because nobody thinks that the rebels can actually win.
Yeah.
And Arc, I agree with you. There's definitely there's gonna be a lot more deaths before we're done next week. I definitely don't think Luthen and Clea, thank you. I drew a blank for a second. I definitely don't think they make it out.
Well, I want to talk about them, but before we move on from these guys, you alluded to, you might have almost said it, like at when Cyril has the drop on Cass and he's about to kill him, and Cass says, "Who are you?"
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
That was, I mean, for those to be the last words that anybody says to Cyril, like Cyril has spent his life, or the last 5 years of this show, at least. He spent the last 5 years in pursuit of Cassian Andor and thinking that Cassian was this big bad, and Cassian doesn't even know who he is.
Yep.
It was
because they never really came face to face before.
They never did, but
But Cyril was always the one chasing him.
But it's such a humiliation, like a final humiliation, right? That he doesn't know who you are. He's not. He has not been worried about you one iota. He had no clue that you were chasing him for the last 5 years, and had no idea. And it was really. And when he says it, Cyril starts to kind of drop the weapon, right? And then Rylan shoots him in the head.
Yep. Oh, but the best thing to come out of Gorman, we got K2SO.
Oh, well, that's the best thing. I was going to say the best thing is we know the origin of the tagline of Rogue One: rebellions are built on hope.
Oh, there's that too. That's
we
true.
had the bellhop who's a rebel says that's right. Rebellions are built on hope, and that will be his big line in Rogue One. But yeah, what's he called? KS20?
K2SO.
K2SO, yeah. I didn't get a good picture of him because there really wasn't one, but we see how Cassian gets him.
Yeah, I mean, which was trying to tell you as soon as he ran into him with the tank, I was like, "Ooh, that must be K2SO." I was like, "Yay!"
Yeah, and because he's a much bigger character in Rebels, right?
He's not in Rebels. In Rogue One, he's a bigger.
He's character. In Rogue One. K2SO is not in any of the other. He's only in Rogue One, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's Cassian's right hand, right? He's his
it's buddy.
Buddy in Rebels, and he I thought I almost shut down by mistake. And he's a great character that everybody enjoys, I think.
Well, yeah, and famously voiced by Alan Tudyk.
Oh yeah.
Which Resident Alien's coming back soon.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so anything else there before we jump to the Senate?
No, I mean, I think there was a whole bunch of Rogue One Easter eggs in these scenes. Here at the massacre, we see, I had to read a list of them on various Star Wars places, but Cassian's rifle that he uses in this scene is the same weapon he uses in Rogue One. And K2, of course, and Melshi, who shows up by the end of the episode, right?
Well, that's later when they're back on Yavin.
On Yavin. But anyway, no, I think we're good. This episode was, I mean, these 2 episodes were amazing and so upsetting, and then they take us to really. I've also been waiting for Mon's story to really move, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Mon is not a happy camper, and she's like, we need to stand up. We need to voice our opinions on this and get it out there. And Bale's like, yep, you're right. And you're going to do it. And I'm going to stay behind. And she's like, no, what do you mean? He's like, somebody's got to, yeah. He's like, Gavin's not ready yet. Somebody's got to stay here and stall them.
Yeah.
And she finds out that Erkshin has been working for Luthen the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
At least since the wedding.
Yeah. Yeah, he says like right after the wedding is when he started
working for Luthen.
Yeah. So he's been working for Luthen for a while. And Luthen, Luthen says, like, she's so mad, right? And Luthen's like, look, he has saved your life in ways that you can never even know. But she's really, it's kind of interesting that this is the big betrayal that pisses Mon off so much, right? Of course, it happens over the course of like 15 minutes or an hour of her life here in this episode.
Yeah.
She's really, he's her driver, but he's from her same planet, right? Doesn't he say like a few episodes ago, he said like, I'm also like from, where's she from? Cala?
Yeah, I don't remember.
He says I'm from there also. And she like took me under her wing and whatever. And he eventually, but she's really very upset.
Yeah.
And like doesn't want to. She's at her wit's end with Luthen. Also, like I think there's parts where she says, "Luthen, you're the person I trust least of all."
Yeah,
and I think she's not wrong, right?
See, the thing is, everything happened so quickly, and they had to act fast. Without Luthen, she's dead. She doesn't make it out of there. He sends in Andor to get her out. She doesn't make it out alive. Otherwise, she hasn't really, until now, she hasn't really grasped the severity of this situation. When he shoots that Imperial spy, she's like, "Oh my God, you just shot that woman!" Like, yeah. Do you not realize that they're trying to kill you? And then when he shoots the driver, she's like, "What's his name? What's his name?" He's like, I got her. And he's like, "Who are you?" Bang.
I think she hasn't grasped the seriousness of the situation like that day, but I think she has grasped it. Mon has been walking a tightrope for years, right?
Yeah.
And she is funding everything.
But now it's at her front door.
Well, Luthen has protected her. She's hanging out with all these senators. She's very and all these Imperial types around and can't trust anyone. And so she's really been like in this little tight box all this time. But she hasn't had to experience any violence, right?
Right.
And I don't know if she really got until this. Do you think she understood before today that like there's nobody Luthen wouldn't really sacrifice? Luthen would let anybody die if he thought it would advance his cause, right? But she's the one person that he.
I think she's I think she's always known. She definitely. If she didn't realize it before, she definitely got a glimpse into it when he had killed.
Tay,
yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says to her, "How nice for you." Like that was like a little eye-opening for her, right? That she's been and she like this bit with the speech, like she gets it. This speech is like a huge
Her speech was great.
Her speech was amazing, and apparently the speech is a little bit different. So she also gives the speech in Rebels, but she doesn't really like. I don't watch Rebels. Do you watch Rebels?
Yes.
So she gave like her speech is part of the Rebels canon, also, right? But not. Yes. You don't see it like you did here, right? Is that correct?
You see pieces of it. You don't really see the whole thing.
And
you see it from it's from a different perspective in Rebels.
And it's like a big defining moment of the story arc here, right? Of her, like I guess it's a moment that sort of sets off the.
This is a year before the battle at Yavin.
Yeah. I feel like, so I don't know all the Star Wars canon, but I feel like this is a moment that helps the different rebelling factions to coalesce into the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
And it is a moment that she cannot be allowed to. Empire cannot allow her to live after this, right? Like I loved how we saw these senators, and like some senators come and they're like, "Oh yeah, those Gormans, they've been like the Gore have been like."
Yeah, we knew this was coming. We tried to warn you.
Yeah, right. And she's got to speak truth to power. Now this was written and in the scripts were like in the can like 2 years ago, I think. But I mean, this made me feel like I look at the US Congress and the way nobody from any party is ever willing to really say anything or do anything, right? And whichever, no matter
there's that one lone voice.
No matter what part of Americans agree almost universally on one thing, that everybody in Congress sucks. Yeah, she's this one lone voice who's willing to speak up, or who has been selected. Like Bail Organa might be a guy who would speak up, but the plan is that she's going to speak up and flee, and he's going to stay behind to. Well, I guess he's eventually killed on Alderaan, right?
Yeah, when Alderaan goes boom boom.
Yeah, in A New Hope.
Yeah. But and then while Cass is getting her out of there, he says to her, "Welcome to the rebellion," which is the first line that he says to Jane Erso when he meets her.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And this whole bit, so there are like, I didn't come across any shots of Cassian from this episode where he's posing as a journalist. His job is to save Mon, right? Like Senator Organa has put together a rescue mission, or like an extraction team that will help Mon to get off Coruscant and take her to Yavin. But Luthen and Clea are like, oh no, we can't trust anybody. The only person we can trust is Cassian Andor. And there's that bit where Cassian is gonna pick her up and rescue her, but then he's supposed to hand her off to another ship. They want Gold Squadron to escort her to Yavin. They're gonna tell a different story about her escape and how she arrives at right. Like they're gonna enact their own kind of propaganda a little bit, right? Like Cass is gonna be the one to save her, but he doesn't get to be the hero.
Right. Cass never gets to be the hero.
And not that he doesn't want to be the hero.
Yeah, but he's never been the hey, look at me, look what I did type, you know.
No, but Luthen has a story he wants to tell to make Mon into the face of the rebellion, right?
Right.
And it can't be like, oh, she snuck out with this like reformed thief who is I mean, he also maybe doesn't want to expose Cass, I guess.
Well, but you know what though, Luthen is, you know, he's ruthless, but he's very smart with all this because he understands that he himself could never lead the rebellion. He could never get give a speech and get people to rally behind him. He's been grooming Mon to be the leader this whole time because he knows when she speaks, people listen.
Because she's much more charismatic than him.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's a sledgehammer where she's, more subtle.
Yeah. She also, I mean, this maybe isn't part of it, but I'm thinking like she's a person who really could have benefited from just going with the flow with the Empire. I just kept being rich and not really ever had to could have really benefited and didn't have to.
Like her husband.
Right? Like her husband. Yeah. She didn't have to speak up, and she is. But you're right. Luthen is not a guy that people are going to rally behind. He's just too stodgy and
too abrasive,
boring, and right. But she's like, I mean, would you want this guy or this person to be the face of your, to be the leader? You're right. He's been grooming her. She didn't even know she was being groomed. Right? She didn't even know this was the plan. I think 5 years ago when this started, she was just a person who was funding things, and now
she was sympathetic to the cause and she was funding it.
Yeah.
And now she's finding out, wait, you want me to lead this shit?
Yeah. I thought the escape was great, where she has to like
Yeah.
go with Cass, and I love the past phrase. They're always using that phrase, "I have friends everywhere," is like the code word, the code phrase, and like she has to go with Cass. She kind of doesn't want to, as you said, she can't believe. She's like, "You just shot that woman who's like trying to assassinate you, Mon." And I love how at every step Cassian has to be like, "Okay, take a breath. You're okay. Take my hand. Let's run. Don't run." You know, he's really gotta. She's totally like not at all prepared for. I loved all that. I loved how they have to go a different way, and then her driver shows up, and like I thought the escape
I was kind of glad that when her driver died because he was annoying me.
was right. He's a bad guy. He's an informant. He's a bad guy. Again, given that we know that both Cassian and Mon will make it out of here, they did a good job, I think, of giving a lot of tension to a scene that we knew how it was going to end.
That's one thing that this show has done good this season is the tension building in situations where we know the answer already. Anytime you can do that in a show, that's pretty good.
Yeah, where we know where she's going to be.
You know, it's funny actually because you and I have been very like-minded about this show up to this point, and Artie and his friends have absolutely loved it. And actually, I finally remember, I started mentioning it last week, and then I texted you. But one of his teachers, he already tells me this out of nowhere. One day, he's like, he goes, it must be a generational thing. He's like, my teacher, Mr. Whoever, he's like, feels the same way that Andor's boring. He's like, my friends and I all love it, and he's like, no, it's boring. He's like, what do you love? He goes, it must be generational. I was like, no, adults have good taste, teenagers don't.
Yeah. I don't know, but
but now it's that's my point. Like, so Artie's got this play that he's in this weekend, so this is crunch week, so he's not getting home till 8:00 every night. So he's only seen episode 7. He hasn't seen episode 8 and 9. We didn't watch it together because he hasn't been home.
Oh,
yeah. So Damon and I,
because
Damon and I watched him tonight without him. He's just got to get caught up. And I said, yeah, it figures. I'm finally enjoying Andor, and you're not even here.
And this is not a kid's Star Wars. Does Damon enjoy this?
Damon's loving it.
He is? I mean, he's like 12, right?
11.
He's 11. He's old enough to understand it.
And I got news for you. 11 in 2025 is a lot different than 11 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Technology and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait till he sees it. I mean, I would maybe watch these again. Actually, they were like kind of that good.
Yeah, especially 8 and 9.
I mean, yeah.
I would actually probably watch. I wouldn't mind watching 8 and 9 again, and paying more attention to see other things that I missed that I didn't pick up on.
Yep.
I'm sure it's filtered with Easter eggs, and that was so funny. I completely forgot about Melshi until at the end. She's looking at the gun and she's like, "Whose gun is this?" And he's like, "That would be mine." I was like, "Holy shit, Melshi!" Like I completely forgot about him.
Yeah, and he's in Rogue One. I mean, he was at the prison last season, and he's going to be in Rogue One.
Yeah. He's the one transporting Jane Erso.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of fun to see him, right?
Yeah.
So this has made me kind of excited to see the next block of episodes, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the next 3 episodes literally run into Rogue One. Like the last episode, literally, like
It will take us to like right before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I still don't understand how Jane Erso is going to be in it, because I feel like if Jane's in it, then we've overlapped it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we got so much of her kind of backstory. Well, I mean, we kind of did it being raised by Saw Gerrera. Okay, whatever. That's not good. But we still, I think, have a way. Like, I think Ark said it earlier in the chat. Like, we still have a ways to go for Cassian to be the guy that he's going to be, right?
Yeah. Which is funny because I didn't like Andor in Rogue One.
You didn't like Cassian Andor in Rogue One?
No, he was a jerk.
He kind of was a jerk, right? But I kind of get maybe why he's a jerk. Like, he's kind of...
It's actually funny because in Rogue One, out of our core crew, he was my least favorite of them all in Rogue One.
And he was kind of like,
and then we make a show about him.
They were definitely worth rewatching, I think.
Rewatching.
They're worth rewatching.
Ark sucks at typing.
I don't know if
Ark just doesn't, or is like me and just doesn't care and be like, they'll figure it out.
Or who has bad voice to text.
That's possible too.
But yeah, he's very he definitely in Rogue One is like not into this mission, right? And I mean, right where we leave Cass at the end of these episodes, he's not really all in on the rebellion. Like he has a moral code that he saves people. He believes in saving people. He's not like, I think maybe he's a little cynical. He maybe doesn't believe that the Empire can be overcome. I'm not sure he really believes that a rebellion.
Well, no, I mean, he's ready to run away with Bix.
Yeah.
And then she runs away first, and now he's stuck there, and
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happened. Like, the year jump is a little annoying because how much of that growth is going to happen with Bix gone.
Well, and that's been the thing for me. I mean, it's funny because each year jump we're like, is he there yet? Nope, not yet.
Yeah, he's closer.
Kind of has to be there for the next one.
I feel like Bix leaving him is, it's the Gorman massacre that's going to push him, right? Like losing Bix, okay. And that was so sad because she says, when it's all over, I'll come and find you. And we know he's going to die, right?
Yeah.
But not having Bix to worry about because they made her to be this girl that he has to take care of all the time, right? Not that you wouldn't worry about the person you love, but like he can just.
I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I hope we get a coda to Bix and we see that she's happy somewhere or something.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see her off somewhere.
Or maybe we get an epilogue where she finds out that he's dead.
Yeah, she'll definitely know because Scarif's gonna go boom.
Yeah. So.
Right. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. I can't believe I'm saying that. Have I ever said I can't wait to see?
No, we have not. This is the first time ever.
Yeah, never. There's Jamie's last
back.
I've been here.
No, I knew you were there, but I just noticed the screen.
That's the last of
I
us.
don't know what you did there.
I just had that up so at least something was on it.
Anyway, Jamie, we've complained about this show for 2 years and now near the end. By the way, I saw one of these clickbait headlines today that said like, why there won't be a season 3 of Andor. And I was like, are you kidding me? Everybody knows why there won't be season 3 of Andor. What are you talking? What a horrible clickbait headline that was.
They'll do that. They'll have clickbait.
All right.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. Please come back Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern for our Last of Us discussion.
I won't be here Thursday.
You won't be here Thursday. Okay, then me and Karen will be here Thursday.
We'll be here. All right.
Followed by 11 p.m. Scarlett and I are going to be doing a special Yellowjackets episode based on some of the animal totems and things. We're kind of filling in some time before Librarians starts. So that's after Last of Us Thursday. And then, of course, Monday at 8 is our watch party for Dead City. And then 9 o'clock is the live stream for Dead City. And I believe it's like looking at the dates here. Starting next Monday, after our Dead City show, we'll be starting Murderbot. So look for that. And of course,
you're going to do a special show on that?
We're going to be doing a weekly stream on it. Yeah, it's not that long. They're only half-an-hour episodes, and there's not that many of them. But
So you'll only do like a 4-hour show.
hey, we haven't been doing that long. No, it'll probably be like an hour or so. I don't know. But yeah, that will be starting next Monday. But first is, like I said, Last of Us and Yellowjackets. So make sure you tune in and make sure you follow Sci-Fi Vision so you get all of our notifications and updates. And yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff. So, and I will have up, I was going to say, I also should have up my interviews for Murderbot pretty soon. So,
Okay. So, well, next Tuesday on Phantom Access on this show, we will have the same 4 shows again. We're going to have Dead City, Doctor Who,
Surreal Estate,
and Andor. It'll be the finale of Andor, but if we want to add a shortened Murderbot conversation, we can do that, but we will have to cut back on our Doctor Who coverage.
Yeah.
Depends on how good the episode of Doctor Who is.
All right, but we can't have a 2-hour show.
I was being sarcastic.
Talking about Doctor Who.
Well, we only did 2.5 hours. We didn't do too bad. We're usually about that time.
I know, but anyway, so and then it's the last of Andor next week. So
Arc. It's always it's
cool. Starting soon. Resident Aliens.
All our shows are cool.
Yes, all our shows are cool. So come listen. And when you come on Mondays, you can see.
You coming makes it cooler, Arc.
Hey, Arc, did you do the Andor show on Sunday night 2 nights ago? I don't know if you'll have time to type this in to reply to me, but Arc is a co-host of that show.
Yes, on our sister network, NDB Media.
I sat in with those guys a couple weeks, but I had not watched Andor until yesterday or today. I had not watched Andor until yesterday, so I didn't sit in with those guys.
I was going to say, so you definitely got spoiled.
Yeah, I didn't sit in with them, so I didn't get spoiled. But anyway, those guys.
I forgot Sunday was Mother's Day.
Those guys on NDB with Arc and the guys should be doing their last Andor show on Sunday night. Also, if anybody wants to listen into a deeper dive on Andor than we do here, they do a couple hours with co-hosts. Arc is in the chat with them.
Yeah. And I was going to say also, you reminded me when you said Sunday. At 9:00 when the episode drops, of course, we have our Last of Us watch party too. And if you guys did, I don't know if people maybe missed it because of Mother's Day. You reminded me when you said that because we didn't get as many people last week. If you guys missed it and want to, see the one or do one for the one before it as well, let me know because we can always start at 8 this week. I don't know. There wasn't as many people. I'm guessing it's because it was Mother's Day.
No, so the short answer is everybody can find a show any night of the week on our channel.
So
right now, at the very least, you'll find Jamie.
So just please like and subscribe and watch Jamie every single night on
Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays is when I do the streams. The other days are not streams; they're just lots of watch parties and stuff.
All right.
But yeah. All right, guys. Well, Provide will be coming soon. Resident Alien. Those are both we'll be talking about on this show soon.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Good night.
Y'all. Bye.
Bye-bye.